In 1963, Yigael Yadin began excavating Masada. Is it Yadin or Yadin? It's an ancient fortification in the southern district of Israel situated on top of an isolated rock plateau akin to a mesa. Is it Yadin? I think it's Yadin. It's like on the eastern edge of the Judean desert. Oh, over here. Overlooking the Dead Sea, 20 kilometers east of Arad. Okay. In 1964, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria developed a unified military command. Israel completed work on a national water carrier, a huge engineering project designed to transfer Israel's allocation of the Jordan River's waters towards the south of the country in realization of Ben-Gurion's dream of mass Jewish settlements of the Negev desert. The Arabs responded by trying to divert the headwaters of the Jordan, leading to growing conflict between Israel and Syria. National Water Carrier is the largest water project in Israel, completed in 1964. Its main purpose is to transfer water from the Sea of Galilee in the north of the country to the highly populated center and arid south, and to enable efficient use of water and regulation of water supply. Gotcha. Ben-Gurion quit Mapai. How do you fucking say this shit? Okay, that's fucking stupid. How to pronounce... Fuck me. I'm not going to be able to...
Mapai.
Mapai? Please just say it.
טוב, אז מה היה לנו שם? א' צדיק, כרזת בחירות לכנסת השנייה. הזמן, שנת 1951. כמעט מיליון בעלי זכות הצבעה במדינה הצעירה. מהם הצביעו 695,007 איש. לכרזה יש שני צדדים. בצד ימין, האות א', מפאי. מפלגת...
Mapai. Okay. Mapai. Thank you. Ben-Gurion quit Mapai to form the new party Rafi. He was joined by Shimon Peres and Moshe Dayan. Begin's Hirut party. Christ, all these fucking names. Joined with the liberals to form Gahal. Mapai and Labor unified for the 1965 elections, winning 4 to 5 seats and maintaining Levi Eshkol as prime minister. Ben-Gurion's, I don't actually know where the emphasis on this guy. Rafi party received 10 seats. Gahal got 26 seats, becoming the second largest party. Until 1966, Israel's principal arms supplier was France. However, in 1966, following the withdrawal from Algeria, Charles de Gaulle announced France would cease supplying Israel with arms and refused to refund money paid for 50 warplanes. Yikes, fam. How do I account for some random shit that happened between conflicts? We'll say 1963 to 1966, I guess? I don't know. I guess we could just call this. Destiny, so far, do you think banning Nazi work from chat doesn't improve chat at all? Have you gotten any emails, messages thanking you or commenting on it? I don't know if I got people commenting on it, but I think it was good to ban it. Jesus Christ. That British dinner. Why did you like that? Israel completed work on a national water carrier. Arabs responded by attempting to divert the headwaters of the Jordan, leading to growing conflict between Israel and Syria. 1964, we'll say Egypt, Jordan, and Syria developed a unified military command. Oh god. How long is this? Hold on. How long is this fucking fight happening for right now? Can somebody tell me when it's over? Just ban them? I can't, because it's gonna be like every 2 seconds. Some other fucking retard is like typing some shit about fights that I absolutely don't give a fuck about. 30 minutes or an hour? Moshe Dayan, noteworthy figure to keep an eye out for during your research. Wasn't he one of like the Israeli ground leaders or whatever in the Suez Crisis war or conflict? Oh, good job, RTBA. Oh, he was the Minister of Defense. Until 1966, Israel's principal arms supplier was France. In 66, okay, let's see. Till 1966, Israel's weapons came from France, though Charles de Gaulle ceased supplying Israel with arms post-Algerian withdrawal. The United States announced that it was taking over the former French and West German obligations to maintain military stabilization in the Middle East. Included in the military hardware would be 200 M48 tanks. In May of that year, the U.S. also agreed to provide A-4 Skyhawk tactical aircraft to Israel. In 1966, security restrictions placed on Arab Israelis were eased and efforts made to integrate them into Israeli life. The U.S. and... oh, just the U.S. The U.S. stepped in to replace the flow of weapons. Jesus. In 1966, black and white TV broadcasts began on 15th of May 1967. The first public performance of Naomi Shimmer's classic song, Jerusalem of Gold, took place, and over the next few weeks, it dominated the Israeli airwaves. 2 days later, Syria, Egypt, and Jordan amassed troops along the Israeli borders, and Egypt closed the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping. Nasser demanded that the UNEF leave Sinai, threatening escalation to a full war. Egyptian radio broadcasts talked of a coming genocide. On the 26th of May, Nasser declared, "The battle will be a general one, and our basic objective will be to destroy Israel." Israel considered the Straits of Tiran closure a casus belli. Belli? I don't know how to pronounce this. Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq signed defense pacts, and Iraqi troops began deploying to Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. Algeria also announced that it would send troops to Egypt. Between 63 and 67 Egyptian troops had tested chemical weapons on Yemenite civilians as part of an Egyptian intervention in support of rebels. Is it belli? Casus belli? Or casus belli? Casus belli? Casus belli. Okay, this is the 6-Day War. How do we... oh, further information. It's belly? Oh, why? Okay, fuck it, let's go. 1967, the 6-Day War, or the Third Arab-Israeli War. In Ayla's version of Capture the Flag, is it against the rules to run around the enemy capture point with a Bluetooth speaker? What? Highlight this in red. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, you can't even pronounce GIF correctly. Good one. I wonder if I can take better notes for this conflict versus the last one. You kind of constructed the fact that Israel constructing the water carrier brought drought throughout the Jordan River. Did it? It doesn't say that here. Maybe in the next article. Most of the waterworks in Israel are integrated with the national water carrier, the length of which is around 130 kilometers. Planning and construction. Agriculture, drinking water, and Jordan's share. The national water carrier was inaugurated in 1964, with 80% of its water being allocated to agriculture and 20% for drinking water. As time passed, increasing amounts were consumed as drinking water. By the early 1990s, the national carrier was supplying half the drinking water in Israel. It was forecast that by that year, 80% of the national carrier would be directed more providing drinking water. The reasons for increased demand for drinking water were twofold. First, there was rapid population growth, primarily in the center of the country. This increased domestic water use results in the 1994 Israel-Jordan Treaty of Peace. Among them, Israel agreed to transfer 50 million... Wait, Control F. Florator. Controversies section. Since 2015, after large-scale supplying approximately 10% of its previous years, I take extensive investment in water reclamation. Okay, I'll go down and read this, but if this national water carrier is supplying all of Israel's drinking water as of 2010, was it really causing the Jordan River to dry out in 64? It seems like there would just be more and more and more people there moving, right? But I don't know, we'll see. Okay. Alternative plans. The Herzl Plan. The initial idea of a national water carrier followed the proposal of several solutions for the water problems of Palestine put forward before the establishment of Israel in 1948. Early ideas appeared in the 1902 book Alteneland by Theodor Herzl. This is the founder of Zionist guy, in which he talked about utilizing the source of the Jordan River for irrigation purposes and channeling seawater for producing electricity from the Mediterranean Sea near Haifa through the Bet Shean and Jordan valleys to a canal which ran parallel to the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. Hayes Plan, Johnston Plan, controversy. Since its construction, the resulting diversion of water from the Jordan River has been a source of tension with Syria and Jordan. In 1964, Syria attempted construction of a headwater diversion plan that would have prevented Israel from using a major portion of its water allocation, sharply reducing the capacity of the carrier. The project and Israel's subsequent physical attack on those diversion efforts in 1965 were factors which played into regional tensions, culminating in the 67 Six-Day War. In the course of the war, Israel captured from Syria the Golan Heights. Receding Dead Sea and sinkholes. When substitute large number of sinkholes appearing in the area. Damage to the highway below. The surface of the sea has shrunk by about 33% since the 60s, which is partly attributed to the much reduced flow of the Jordan River since the construction of the National Water Carrier Project. The amount of water from the rains reaching the Dead Sea has diminished even further since flash floods started pouring into the sinkholes. The Eco-Peace Middle East, a joint Israeli-Palestinian-Jordanian environmental group, has estimated the annual flow into the Dead Sea from the Jordan as of 2021 less than 100 million cubic meters of water, compared with former flows between 1.2 billion cubic meters of water, 1.3 billion. The war over water. Jordan Water Valley Unified Plan is by the technical main phase. 64 to 67. The water carrier project included works to pump water from the Sea of Galilee. Its initial diversion capacity without supplementary booster pumps is 320 million meters cubed, well within the limits of the Johnston Plan. The Arab states were not prepared to coexist with a project which seemed likely to make a major contribution to Israel's economic growth. In January of 1964, an Arab League summit meeting convened in Cairo and decided the establishment of Israel is the basic threat that the Arab nation in its entirety has agreed to forestall. And since the existence of Israel is a danger that threatens the Arab nation, the diversion of the Jordan waters by it multiplies the dangers to Arab existence. Accordingly, the Arab states have to prepare the plans necessary for dealing with the political, economic, and social aspects so that if the necessary results are not achieved, collective Arab military preparations, when they are completed, will constitute the ultimate practical means for the final liquidation of Israel. Hold on. Do you have any proof or evidence that the initial disruption or attempted disruption of diverting the Jordan River was because they were running out of water? Or did you just completely make that up? I'm super curious. Hold on. Because I don't see any of that. None of that is mentioned here. It seems like they just didn't like the idea that Israel was going to use the river to grow its population a ton. So I don't believe you. If you can link me another source, a non-Wikipedia source maybe, but it's not listed in any of the articles here. But okay. Coalition of Arab states was fought between Israel and a coalition of Arab states from the 5th to 10th of June, 1964. June 5th. Escalated hostilities broke out amid poor relations between Israel and its Arab neighbors following the 1949 armistice agreements, which were signed at the end of the First Arab-Israeli War. Earlier in '56, regional tensions over the Straits of Tiran escalated in what became known as the Suez Crisis when Israel invaded Egypt over the Egyptian closure of maritime passageways to Israeli shipping, ultimately resulting in the reopening of the Straits of Tiran to Israel, as well as the deployment of the United Nations Emergency Force along the Egypt-Israel border. In the months prior to the outbreak, it's kind of funny. I understand because it's Wikipedia and it can't summarize everything all the time. But it makes it sound like in this 1956 war, it was just Israel invading Egypt over the closure of this when it was a bit more, it's a bit more going on there, but it's funny. Okay, sorry. The months prior to the outbreak of the Six-Day War in June of 1967, tensions again became dangerously heightened. Israel reiterated its post-1956 position that another Egyptian closure of the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping would be a definite casus belli. May of 1967, Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser announced the Straits of Tiran would again be closed to Israeli vessels. He subsequently mobilized the Egyptian military and defensive lines along the border with Israel and ordered the immediate withdrawal of all UNEF personnel. Okay, it's a pretty big deal. May 1967, Nasser mobilizes Egyptian military into defensive lines along the Israeli border and closes the shipping lanes through the Straits of Tiran to Israeli vessels. Israel. Oh. Despite Israel warning, this would be a casus belli. Is it casus or casus belli? Can I just like do this? Based. Are you going to publish these notes? I'll probably make them publicly available. My notes are horrible though, okay? Casus? Cassius? No. Pronunciation.
We are looking.
All of these fucking channels should get banned from YouTube. The start of the video should be the pronunciation of the word. Then you can say whatever dumb shit you want to say next. God, I hate these fucking stupid channels.
At how to pronounce this expression, as well as how to say more interesting and often confusing and mispronounced phrases from Latin as well. So make sure to stay tuned. This designates an event.
He doesn't even do his audio correctly. You have one job. You literally have one job.
Action that justifies or allegedly justifies a war or conflict. So a case that justifies to enter in a war. There are two different ways of pronouncing it. To make it sound more Latin, it is generally said as casus belli.
Casus belli. Okay. Your casus belli for war. On the 5th of June, 1967, as the UNE... Oh, hold on. That's important too. Defense laws are close to the shipping lanes. Despite Israel wanting to... Nasser also orders the removal of all UNEF troops, or personnel, I should say. I don't know if they actually had armies there, or if it was just like administrative officials and like police. On June 5th, 1967, as the UNEF was in the process of leaving the zone, Israel launched a series of preemptive airstrikes against Egyptian airfields and other facilities, launching its war effort. Egyptian forces were caught by surprise, and nearly all of Egypt's military aerial assets were destroyed, giving Israel air supremacy. Simultaneously, the Israeli military launched a ground offensive into Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, as well as the Egyptian-occupied Gaza Strip. After some initial resistance, Nasser ordered an evacuation of the Sinai Peninsula. By the sixth day of the conflict, Israel had occupied the entire Sinai Peninsula. Jordan, which had entered into a defensive pact with Egypt just a week before the war began, did not take an all-out offensive role against Israel. However, the Jordanians did launch attacks against Israeli forces to slow Israel's advance. On the fifth day, Syria joined the war by shelling Israeli positions in the north. Egypt and Jordan agreed to a ceasefire on the 8th of June and Syria on the 9th of June, and it was signed with Israel on the 11th of June. The six-day war resulted in more than 20,000 fatal Arab casualties, while Israel suffered fewer than 1,000 fatal casualties. Alongside the combatant casualties were the deaths of 20 Israeli civilians killed in Arab forces' airstrikes in Jerusalem, 15 UN peacekeepers killed by Israeli strikes on the Sinai at the outset of the war, and 34 U.S. personnel killed in the USS Liberty incident in which Israeli Air Forces struck a United States Navy technical research ship. At the time of the cessation of hostilities, Israel had seized Syria's Golan Heights, the Jordanian-annexed West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, as well as the Egyptian-occupied Gaza Strip. With the sole exception of Sinai, Israel retains control of all the seized territories to this day. The displacement of civilian populations as a result of the Six-Day War would have long-term consequences, as around... hold on. Oh, okay. As around 280,000 to 325,000 Palestinians and 100,000 Syrians fled or were expelled from the West Bank and the Golan Heights, respectively. Nasser resigned in shame following Israel's victory, but was later reinstated following a series of protests across Egypt. In the aftermath of the conflict, Egypt closed the Suez Canal until 1975, eventually leading to the 1970s energy crisis in 1973. Oh, until 1975. In 1970, the oil crisis due to the impact on oil deliveries coming to Europe from the Middle East through the Suez Canal. Up to this point in the war, did Israel not have any control of any territory east of Jerusalem? Did that all belong to Jordan? Also, when did Transjordan become Jordan? Just gloss over Israel attacking a U.S. ship, but want to fact check on if water is being used properly. Bro, there are so many more Nazi channels you can watch, okay? I'm sure you know I'm sure you know the exact dick size and cum quantities of every single soldier on that ship because you probably spent the past 10 years obsessing over both that and 9/11. Go do it somewhere else. You fucking smelly, disgusting loser, okay? when they 1946. Transjordan probably became Jordan after it wasn't on both sides of the Jordan River anymore after they lost the West Bank. Huh. Let's check, I'm curious. Transjordan. An area to the east of the Jordan River. Numerous passages in the early... Oh, okay. Huh. Was the last link in that list. Was it? Hashemite Kingdom of Transjordan. A former name. 46 to 49 for the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Hey, Destiny, if you want to watch the real history of this conflict, look up Unbiased History of Israel. Wow, thanks, dude. Why would I just do that? Thank you. Jordan gained independence, became officially known in Arabic. Okay, so it was in 46 after they gained independence. They called themselves Jordan. Okay. Captured and annexed, I don't know. Okay, and then they owned the West Bank until 67. This war. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, Transjordan, I guess, refers to both sides of the river or something. Sure, Transjordan makes sense. Okay. Israel, Egyptian occupied Gaza Strip. Israel would capture the Sinai Peninsula, the Egyptian occupied Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the West Bank from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from, Syria. $20,000 Arab deaths versus 1,000 Israeli deaths. Military, 20,000. Civilian deaths, 20 Israeli civilians killed in Arab forces airstrikes on Jerusalem, 15 Jerusalem, 15 UN peacekeepers killed by Israeli strikes in the Sinai, and 34 U.S. personnel killed in the USS Liberty incident. Okay. Israel gave back the Sinai to Egypt. Okay, we'll just call this the summary section. Okay. Okay. Why does it after? Why is the Sinai? Why is the Suez Canal closure included here? I don't know. Whatever. All right. Good luck. After the 56 Suez Crisis, Egypt agreed to the stationing of the UNEF in the Sinai to ensure all parties would comply with the 49 armistice agreements. In the following years, there were numerous minor border clashes between Israel and its Arab neighbors, particularly Syria. November of 1966, Syria signed a mutual defense agreement with Egypt. Soon after this, in response to Palestine Liberation Organization guerrilla activity, including a mine attack that left 3 dead, the Israeli Defense Force attacked the village of As Samu in the Jordanian-ruled West Bank. Jordanian units that engaged the Israelis were quickly beaten back. King Hussein of Jordan criticized Egyptian President Nasser for failing to come to Jordan's aid and hiding behind UNEF skirts. Oof. So let's see. So we can say, following the 1956 Suez Crisis, Syria and Egypt signed a mutual defense agreement. We can also say that PLO activity and attacks against Israel from Arab countries continued. I'm pretty sure that these attacks against Israel from Arab countries, this was happening pre-Suez Crisis as well, from Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. From Egypt, Transjordan, to Syria, I guess, or the nation of Jordan, yeah. So this has been kind of like a theme, I guess. Okay. May of 1967, Nasser received false reports from the Soviet Union that Israel was massing on the Syrian border. Nasser began massing his troops in 2 defensive lines. Wait, why? Were they wrong or were they lying? Hold on, that's kind of like a big thing to just... Wait, why? Fuck, I can't read this book. Did you already see the drama update earlier? What happened? Oh, good one. Waste my time. Okay, well, in 67, Nasser received false reports from the Soviet Union that Israel was massing on the Syrian border. Nasser began massing his troops in 2 defensive lines in the Sinai Peninsula on Israel's border, expelled the UNEF force from Gaza and Sinai, and took over UNEF positions at Sharm el-Sheikh, overlooking the Straits of Tiran. Israel repeated declarations it had made in 57 that any closure of the Straits would be considered an act of war or justification for war. But Nasser closed the Straits to Israeli shipping on the 22nd and 23rd of May. After the war, President Lyndon B. Johnson commented, "If a single act of folly was more responsible for this explosion than any other, it was the arbitrary and dangerous announced decision that the Straits of Tiran would be closed. The right of innocent maritime passage must be preserved for all nations." Why? Oh, we know why, actually. Let's see. So, in May of 1967, Nasser received bogus intel from the USSR. Israel was massing on the Syrian border. So he gathered troops in the Sinai Peninsula, ejected UNEF personnel, and once again closed the Straits of Tiran, or once again denied passage of Israeli vessels through the Straits of Tiran. On the 30th of May, Jordan and Egypt, and then 30th of May, Jordan and Egypt signed a defense pact. That following day, at Jordan's invitation, the Iraqi army began deploying troops and armored units in Jordan. They were later reinforced by an Egyptian contingent. On the 1st of June, Israel formed a national unity government by widening its cabinet. And on the 4th of June, the decision was made to go to war. The next morning, Israel launched Operation Focus, a large-scale surprise airstrike that launched the Six-Day War. Iraq, and Egypt began deploying troops and armored units in Jordan. Seems like it's unknown whether the USSR lied or had accidental misinfo. It feels like it must have been wrong, right? Like, what would be the USSR motivation for doing this? The Soviet Union deliberately instigated the 1967 war in the Middle East. Hassan el-Baltimi uses new Egyptian sources to answer one of the great mysteries surrounding the 67 Six-Day War. Did the USSR intentionally provoke Egypt to... Did Egypt not have any intelligence of their own? Like, this New York Times article claims that they did it on purpose. I don't have anything against Wikipedia. It is a somewhat decent source of information, but it seems like Destiny's getting 90% or more of his information stolen from Wikipedia, which is unideal. Caustic Agnostic in YouTube chat. Can you please tell me something that I've read or gotten off of Wikipedia so far that's been incorrect? Please enlighten me so that I can learn something more. We'll wait. Everybody in YouTube chat is going to wait, okay? Egypt probably assumed USSR intelligence was better than their own. So it is a deliberate, premeditated plan by specific regional actors, either Israel or Egypt and Syria. However, it also says the role of the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and where much of the written of the U.S. providing amber light during the visit of Meir Amit, chief of Mossad, to Washington, as well as Soviet warnings to Egypt of an imminent Israeli attack on Syria. Whether through tacit or explicit encouragement, provisions of arms, or political backing, many argued the superpowers were intertwined in the unfolding war. Egyptian intelligence was poor during this era. Yeah, clearly. Widely acknowledged that the Soviet Union provided Cairo with warnings about Israeli intentions to invade Syria. On May 13th, 1967, the Soviet Union provided information that Israel was amassing around 11 brigades to attack Syria through at least 3 channels. It was first communicated to Anwar Sadat. Ooh, they really communicated this. Big East, $10. Let's buy where we load a game of good old League of Legends. Good one. The information that Soviet Union provided Israeli brigades appeared to be false. The Soviet Union intentionally mislead. Did Moscow want an Egyptian-Israeli confrontation, or was it simply an intelligence failure that unintentionally precipitated war in 1967? Destiny, the fat fuck doxed and harassed the wrong person. For reference. Bro, I already know what you're talking about. That guy is insane. I don't even know how that guy has any following or fan or anything. That guy is like an insane dude. He's like mentally unwell and should probably be taken off the internet. How the KGB started the war that changed the Middle East. The KGB used to call this modus operandi active measures. According to KGB documents, they are aimed at exerting useful influence on aspects of interest in the political life of a target country, including its foreign policy, misleading the adversary, undermining and weakening the adversary's positions. The heads of the KGB were deeply anti-Semitic and saw in Israel the world Jewry a danger which is only second to the main enemy, the United States. The KGB was intent on destabilizing Israel, totally disproportionate to the country's strength or influence. In April of 1967, as the U.S. was making gains in Vietnam, the Soviets decided to undertake dramatic active measures to weaken Israel and thereby also deal a blow to Americans. By conveying false information, the Soviets hoped to increase Syrian and Egyptian dependence on Moscow and deepen Egypt's involvement in the Middle East. Okay, but like, what's the evidence for this? 7. Kotov and his comrades in Tel Aviv saw that Israel was preparing for war, and the Syrians Moscow were convinced was not going to have its fight air. Began asking their agents what was going on. The Shin Bet decided to activate our double agents to try and prevent the war by feeding the Russians accurate information. Kotov worrying, talking about the preparation for war, that if the Soviets did not bring about a relaxation of tension, the withdrawal of Egyptian army from the Sinai, Israel would attack another double agent. Polish journalists given the same orders. This is an opinion piece? Well, just because it's an opinion piece doesn't mean it's just random shit. I mean, opinion pieces are like persuasive essays, right? Or they could be. What do lay Redditors think about this? Wow, nice. Nobody gives a fuck. Okay, more about this later. I found that Hiromi playlist if you're still interested. I'm good. Okay. Bro, these AI girls on fucking not Tinder, on Twitter, or not Twitter actually, X. Okay. Military preparation. Before the war, Israeli pilots and ground crews had trained extensively in rapid refitting of aircraft returning from sorties, enabling a single aircraft to sortie up to 4 times a day. Why is Merc just like, why is she, Jesus, she just like always messaging me the most random shit. She DMs me and she goes, I am who I am and that's it, and there's nothing you guys can say to change that, so have fun. What is she doing? She's smoking way too much. Enabling a single aircraft to sortie up to 4 times a day, as opposed to the norm in Arab air forces of 1 or 2 sorties per day. This enabled the Israeli Air Force to send several attack waves against Egyptian airfields on the first day of the war, overwhelming the Egyptian Air Force, and allowed it to knock out the other Arab air forces on the same day. This has contributed to the Arab belief that the IAF was helped by foreign air forces. See controversies relating to the Six-Day War. Pilots were extensively schooled about their targets, were forced to memorize every single detail, and rehearsed the operation multiple times on dummy runways in total secrecy. The Egyptians had constructed fortified defenses in the Sinai. These designs were based on the assumption that an attack would come along the few roads leading through the desert rather than through the difficult desert terrain. The Israelis chose not to risk attacking the Egyptian defenses head-on, and instead surprised them from an unexpected direction. James Reston, writing in the New York Times on the 23rd of May, 1967, noted that in discipline, training, morale, equipment, and general competence, Nasser's army and the other Arab forces, without the direct assistance of the Soviet Union, are no match for the Israelis. Even with 50,000 troops and the best of his generals and air force in Yemen, he has not been able to work his way in that small and primitive country, and even his effort to help the Congo rebels was a flop. The best of his air force in Yemen. Is Reston referring to Nasser's support in Yemen, or to Soviet Union support in Yemen, or the Congo, or to help Congo rebels? It's probably... He's referring to Nasser from Egypt, I'm guessing, huh? I'm guessing it's Nasser. Okay. Destiny, your masterful application of the historical present tense in transcribing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict narrative exudes the essence of a true historian. Commendable. Thank you, Vosh fans. Finally, I've gotten some good Vosh fans in here. That's what I'm looking for. On the eve of the war, Israel believed it could win a war in 3 to 4 days. The United States estimated Israel would need 7 to 10 days to win, with British estimates supporting the US view. Difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. That's what Israel said, Jesus. The Israeli army had a total strength, including reservists, of 264,000, though this number could not be sustained during a long conflict, as the reservists were vital to civilian life. Against Jordan's forces in the West Bank, Israel deployed about 40,000 troops and 200 tanks, 8 brigades. I believe these tanks were supplied by the US. Israeli Central Command forces consisted of 5 brigades. The first 2 were permanently stationed near Jerusalem and were the Jerusalem Brigade and the mechanized Harel Brigade. Mordecai Gur's 55th Paratroopers Brigade was summoned from the Sinai Front. The 10th Armored Brigade was stationed north of the West Bank. The Israeli Northern Command comprised a division of 3 brigades led by Major General Elad Peled, which was stationed in the Jezreel Valley to the north of West Bank. Oh, actually, we can probably finish this all today. The Six-Day War actually, like internationally, geopolitically, is probably a simpler conflict than the Suez Crisis. I mean, my guess, the Suez Canal Crisis, but we'll see. On the eve of the war, somebody said in Kick Chat, at Destiny, Israel is one of the countries that require almost the entire population to serve in the military for a term of service, meaning almost all the population has basic military and weapon training. I mean, that's the same with, like, you know, the surrounding Arab countries too. The only difference is the IDF puts a rifle in the hand of a child and the Arab countries put bombs on their back. Just kidding. Joke. On the eve of the war, Egypt massed approximately 100,000 of its 160,000 troops in the Sinai, including all 7 of its divisions, 4 infantry, 2 armored, and 1 mechanized, 4 independent infantry brigades, and 4 independent armored brigades. I don't need the fucking accounting. What is this, the Iliad? Over a third of these soldiers were veterans from Egypt's continuing intervention into the North Yemen civil war, and another third were reservists. Oh, fuck, should I know about this? Give me like a quick recap of this. Because this happens prior to this. From 62 to 70, between partisans of the Mutawakilite Kingdom and supporters of the Yemen Arab Republic. The war began with a coup d'etat carried out in 62 by revolutionary Republicans led by the army under the command Abdullah S. Salal. Where were we at? Who dethroned the newly crowned king and imam Muhammad al-Badr, and declared Yemen a republic under his presidency. The imam escaped to the Saudi Arabian border, where he rallied popular support from northern Shia tribes to retake power, escalating rapidly to a full-scale civil war. Destiny, not important, Yemen L. Okay. On the royalist side, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Israel supplied military aid, and Britain gave covert support, while the Republicans were supported by Egypt, then formerly known as the United Arab Republic, and were supplied warplanes from the Soviet Union. How interesting. So Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Israel were all supplying things on one side against Egypt and the Soviet Union. But when the Six-Day War came, Egypt and Jordan sided against Israel. Okay, interesting. Both foreign, irregular, and conventional forces were involved. Our boy, the Egyptian President Nasser, supported the Republicans with as many as 70,000 Egyptian troops and weapons. Despite several military actions and peace conferences, the war sank to a stalemate by the mid-1960s. Egypt's commitment to the war is considered to have been detrimental to its performance in the Six-Day War, after which Nasser found it increasingly difficult to maintain his army's involvement and began to pull out of Yemen. The surprising removal of Salal on the November 5th by Yemeni dissidents, supported by Republican tribesmen, resulted in an internal shift of power in the capital. While the royalists approached from the north, the new Republic government was headed by Qadi Abdul Rahman Iryani, Ahmed Noman, and Muhammad Ali Uthman, all of whom shortly either resigned or fled the country, leaving the disarrayed capital under the control of Prime Minister Hassan al-Amri. The 1967 siege of Sana'a became the turning point of the war. The remaining Republican prime minister succeeded in keeping control of Sana'a, and by February of 68, the royalists lifted the siege. Clashes continued in parallel with peace talks until 1970, when Saudi Arabia recognized the Republic and a ceasefire came into effect. Egyptian military historian referred to the war in Yemen as their Vietnam. Historian Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., wrote that Egypt's military adventure in Yemen was so disastrous that the then ongoing Vietnam War could easily have been dubbed America's Yemen. Jeez, okay. Huh. I'm just curious how much Jordan was involved in this. Dispatched, okay. Halted their aid to the Imam. Pulled us only after Jordan Saudi Arabia to stop all aggressive operations on frontiers. Convinced the national target was Saudi Arabia's oil, and that if the Sauds went, he would be next. Okay. Bro, Egypt is... not Egypt, Nasser. That dude is wild. Training forces. I wonder how much, like, single leaders, like, determined the course of, like, different geopolitical adventures? National adventures, I guess? Jordanians provided an active support of the royalists to force Europe war. Military alliance of Saudi Arabia and Jordan became widely known. Following the Egyptian raids on Saudi Arabia, Jordanians withdrew from the war in 63 by recognizing the Republicans, but the Saudi support continued. What about Israel? To use gas attacks against Israel as well. Oh shit, hold on. The first use of gas took place on June 8th, 1963 against Qalma, a village of about 100 inhabitants in northern Yemen, killing about 7 people and damaging the eyes and lungs of 25 others. This incident is considered to have been experimental, and the bombs were described as homemade, amateurish, and relatively ineffective. The Egyptian authorities suggested that the reported incidents were probably caused by napalm, not gas. The Israeli Foreign Minister Golda Meir suggested in an interview that Nasser would not hesitate to use gas against Israel as well. There were no reports of gas during 1964, and only a few were reported in 65. The reports grew more frequent in late 66. On December 11th, 1966, 15 gas bombs killed 2 people and injured 35. Ticon linked Israel also used biological weapons, and then you link me to the 48 war, which is not really at all related to this, but we'd already read about that earlier, that apparently they were, I think they would like poison wells and stuff as they were retreating so that if any Arabs came back, their water would be poisoned or something, but I don't know why you linked that in response to this. I literally said in 48. Okay, well, we're in 64, so why are you linking me stuff from 48? That's a lifetime ago, bro. There were no reports of gas during 64, 66, 67. The biggest gas attack came... Also, it's kind of weird to link that use of Israeli biological weapons compared to this, right? Like poisoning wells, not to say that it was good, but poisoning wells and I think crops, that's different than gas bombs. It's a little different. Not to say that it's acceptable or some are good and some are bad, but it's... My year. Okay, where were we? There were no reports of... okay. Causing 270 casualties, including 140 fatalities. The target may have been Prince Hassan bin Yahya, who had installed his headquarters nearby. The Egyptian government denied using poison gas, claiming that Britain and the US were using the reports as psychological warfare against Egypt. On February 12, 1967, it said it would welcome a UN investigation. On March 1st, Hugh Thant said that he was powerless to deal with the matter. On May 10th, the twin villages of Gahar and Gaddafa in Wadi Hiran, where Prince Mohammed bin Mohsin was in command, were gas-bombed, killing at least 75. The Red Cross was alerted, and on June 2nd, it issued a statement in Geneva expressing concern. The Institute of Forensic Medicine at the University of Bernay made a statement based on a Red Cross report that the gas was likely to have been halogenous derivatives, phosgene, mustard gas, lewisite, chlorine, or cyanide bromide. The gas attack stopped for 3 weeks after the Six-Day War of June, but resumed on July against all parts of royalist Yemen. Casualty estimates vary, and an assumption considered conservative is that the mustard and phosphine-filled aerial bombs caused approximately 1,500 fatalities and 1,500 injuries. Do we know for sure that Egypt was using this? Or I guess who else would it be? If it wasn't Egypt supplying it, it would have, because Jordan was pulled out of the war by this point. Or no, wait, Jordan was on the other side, actually. It would have been Saudi Arabia, right? It would have had to have been one of those two. But Egypt was buying weapons from the USSR. Did the USSR have, I don't even remember, get access to these types of chemical weapons? I'm not sure. Egypt united with Syria for a short while. Sure. Huh. Also Syria. Control F, chemical warfare. Is it just like... Yemen, civil war, chemical warfare. Do I type in a country name? No, we'll just see what's said. Forgotten gas attacks in Yemen haunt Syria crisis. Failed response to repeated chemical assaults 50 years ago haunts a contemporary debate on Syria. In 1962, a group of military officers overthrew Yemen's... Oh, okay, we know this. The Egyptian-led intervention of this protracted civil war would later be dubbed Nasser's Vietnam, and as the conflict worsened, the Egyptian response to the insurgents' guerrilla attacks grew desperate. Local population opposed the Egyptian presence. Tribes began shifting their support. Nasser hoped a massive bombing campaign using poison gas would terrorize. I'm just going to assume Egypt did this. I don't know if it's contested. I guess if it's contested, it'll come up later. Let's see. According to George Lachowski, I don't know how to pronounce this shit. Okay. As early as May 23rd, President Johnson secretly authorized supplying Israel by air with a variety of arms systems, even when an embargo on weapons shipments was placed on the Middle East. Talk to me about this. Where was the embargo? I thought we agreed that we were going to step up to supplying arms to Israel after France stopped. What was the embargo? Fuck, why is there no link to this? What is the embargo? I'm so curious what that was in reference to. Destiny, be honest, this got stuck in your head after the Almost Friday TV video? No, actually it was from the Scrubs episode. Fuck. Hopefully we run into this later, because I don't understand this part. Stephen Green wrote in his book that the United States sent reconnaissance aircraft to track nighttime movement of Egyptian ground forces in order to facilitate daytime Israeli air attacks that proved important for Israel's advances. Richard Parker disputes this and suggests that it is a hoax based on the questionable testimony of a single man. Who wrote this section? It's funny, some of the Wikipedia stuff is written really well, and some of it is like very clearly written by like just somebody like jotting notes down, and it's not actually, it's just like random shit. On the second day of the war, Arab state-run media reported that American and British troops were fighting on Israel's side. Radio Cairo and the government newspaper Al Aram made a number of claims, among them that U.S. and British carrier-based aircraft flew sorties against the Egyptians, that U.S. aircraft based in wheelless airbase Libya attacked Egypt, and that American spy satellites provided imagery to Israel. Mohammed Hassanin Hikal, the chief of Al-Aram in the Nasserite period, repeated similar claims at Al Jazeera channel. Later, Muammar al-Gaddafi's Libyan government confirmed these claims, also only to get a pretext for the coup that took place on the 1st of September 1969. The governments of the United States and Britain officially denied involvement. Similar reports were aired by Radio Damascus and Radio Amman. Egyptian media even said that King Hussein had personally seen radar observations showing British aircraft taking off from aircraft carriers. Outside of the Arab world, claims of American and British military intervention were not taken seriously. Britain, the US, and Israel denied these allegations. On June 8th, Egyptian credibility was further damaged when Israel released an audio recording to the press, which they said was a radio telephone conversation intercepted 2 days earlier between Nasser and King Hussein of Jordan. Nasser. Shall we include also the United States? Do you know of this? Shall we announce that the US is cooperating with Israel? Hello, I do not hear. The connection is the worst. The line between you and the palace of the king from which the king is speaking is bad. Is he referring to himself in the third person, or is this like a translation error? Nasser. Hello! Will we say the US and England or just the US? Hussein. The US and England. Nasser. Does Britain have aircraft carriers? Hussein. Nasser. Good. King Hussein will make an announcement, and I will make an announcement. Thank you. Will His Majesty make an announcement on the participation of Americans and the British? Hussein. Nasser. By God, I say that I will make an announcement and you will make an announcement, and we will see to it that the Syrians will make an announcement that American and British airplanes are taking part against us from aircraft carriers. We will issue an announcement, we will stress the matter, and we will drive the point home. How the fuck is Israel even intercepting these radio telephone conversations? Jesus. In the immediate aftermath of the war, as the extent of the Arab military defeat became apparent, Arab leaders differed. He differs. His opinions differed. It's differed. Arab leaders differed on whether to continue to assert that the American military had assisted the Israeli victory. On June 9th, 1967, Nasser stated in his resignation speech, his resignation was not accepted. What does that mean when you don't accept somebody's resignation? I don't know what that means. What is now established is that American and British aircraft carriers were off the shores of the enemy helping his war effort. Also, British aircraft raided in broad daylight positions of the Syrian and Egyptian fronts. In addition to operations by a number of American aircraft reconnoitering some of our positions, scouting basically, I guess. Indeed, it can be said without exaggeration that the enemy was operating with an air force 3 times stronger than his normal force. King Hussein, however, later denied the allegations of American military support. On June 30th, he announced in New York that he was perfectly satisfied that no American planes took part, or any British planes either. In September, the New York Times reported that Nasser had privately assured Arab leaders gathered in Sudan to discuss the Khartoum resolution that his earlier claims were false. The Khartoum Resolution in September of 1967 was issued at the conclusion of the 67 Arab League Summit. What nations were in the Arab League right now? The 4th Arab League Summit in the aftermath. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Yemen, Kuwait, and Iraq? Were those the only ones? Syria wasn't part of the Arab League? Or Lebanon, or were these just the ones that known as the 3 No's? No peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. The summit also resolved that no oil-rich Arab states give financial aid to the states who lost the war and to help them rebuild the military forces. Oh, that the oil-rich Arab states give financial... This is actually important. Wait, I'm glad I clicked this. Jesus. Okay. The 1967... Arab League Summit. Famous for the Khartoum Resolution, known as the 3 No's. How did spy satellites work in 1967? I don't know if we had any in 67. Spy satellites. Maybe we might have. We went to the moon in 69. In 67, could we transmit or take pictures from space? I have no idea. Or no, wait, actually, hold on. No, because I was in a Cuban Missile Crisis. Those pictures were taken by U-2s, weren't they? Can I? Let me check, hold on. Cuban Missile Crisis. Is it, wait, were they U-2s? Was that the name of the plays? Or the planes? Later, the missile preparations were confirmed when a U.S. Air Force U-2 spy plane produced clear photographic evidence. Yeah. I think it was just planes that were producing this type of visual evidence for us, right? The article said spy satellites. Yeah, but I don't know if... I think that was their claim or something, right? I don't think that... Did the article say for sure the U.S. was providing spy satellites? Everybody keeps saying they parachuted the films like it was actually happening, so maybe that was actually happening. Okay. Huh, okay. Didn't your dad help build that plane? I think he worked on it. And then the SR-71, I think? Wait, hold on. Is it possible to reschedule this appointment for 3 weeks later so I have more time to adjust to being home and on a regular schedule? My doctor wants to meet with me like every 2 weeks to talk about my medication. Every 2 weeks. I think it's because I'm paying cash. I don't need to talk to you every 10 fucking days. You're not doing anything for me. Jesus. Okay. Sorry, okay. King Hussein, however, later denied the allegations. Oh, hold on. We were this resolution. It's normal for 2 weeks. Okay, yeah, but like give me a month so I can like truly know what's going on. Famously known as the 3 no's. No peace with Israel. No recognition of Israel. No negotiations with Israel. Other oil-rich Arab states will help other Arab states who lost the war to rebuild their military. The outcome of this summit influenced Israel's foreign policy for decades. The final note of the meeting asserted Palestinians' rights to the whole of Palestine, meaning the total eradication of Israel. Arab League Summit. I'm just curious what the members were of this summit in '67. Is there a way that I can check this? Maybe don't talk about getting high on your meds publicly. What are you talking about? Okay, establishment. Jesus. It was the same? What do you mean it was the same? So it's just these 6 members? Or 6 or 7 members? Or has it been like 22 members the entire time? The Arab League has 22 member states. It was founded in Cairo in March 1945 with 6 members. Oh wait, I think it does say it right on that page. I normally ignore this section, my bad. Sorry. Okay. We were in 67. So at this time, it would have been... Oh no, these were the different summits. Fuck me. Okay, I don't care. You said on stream you get high off your amphetamine meds. Doctors take that language seriously. First of all, I don't think my doctor does take that language seriously. Secondly, I don't get high off my meds. I was high for the first couple days, but the feelings of euphoria are probably normal when you start amphetamines. Like, they're amphetamines. Kill yourself. Okay. Look under the image. Yeah, I see the image of like some of the leaders, but I don't know if that's the only people that were here at this summit. But whatever. It's not technically that important, I guess. But okay. Resolution. Conference has affirmed the unity of Arab states, the unity of joint action, the need for coordination, and for the elimination of all differences. The king's presidents, representatives of other Arab heads of state at the conference have affirmed their country's stand by an implementation of the Arab Solidarity Charter, which was signed at the Third Arab Summit Conference in Casablanca. The summit had almost all Arab countries. Okay. Conference has agreed on the need to consolidate all efforts to eliminate the effects of the aggression on the basis of the occupied lands are Arab lands, and the burden of regaining these lands falls on all of the Arab states. The Arab heads of states have agreed to unite their political efforts at the international and diplomatic level to eliminate the effects of the aggression and to ensure the withdrawal of the aggressive Israeli forces from the Arab lands which have been occupied since the aggression of 5th of June. This will be done. The 5th of June refers to the start of the Six-Day War. GTA 6 trailer just released. Wait, really? Hold on. Fuck you. Wait, none of this is real, right? I don't know. I don't care. I don't even care about GTA. What am I? Retarded. This will be done within the framework of the main principles by which the Arab states abide, namely no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with it, and insistence on the rights of the Palestinian people in their own country. The Conference of Arab Ministers of Finance, Economy, and Oil recommended that suspension of oil pumping be used as a weapon in the battle. However, after thoroughly studying the matter, the summit conference has come to the conclusion that the oil pumping can itself be used as a positive weapon, since oil is an Arab resource, which can be used to strengthen the economy of the Arab states directly affected by the aggression, so that these states will still be able to stand firm in battle. The conference has therefore decided to resume the pumping of oil, since oil is a positive Arab resource that can be used in the service of Arab goals. It can contribute to the efforts to enable those Arab states which were exposed to the aggression, thereby lost economic resources. Wait, so were they like, okay, we're not going to sell oil to Israel, fuck these losers, but then all of them were like, okay, but if we sold oil to Israel, we can get their shekels, and then we can defeat them with their own money. Is that essentially the back and forth here? The oil-producing states have, in fact, participated in the efforts to enable the states affected by the aggression to stand firm in the face of any economic pressure. The participants in the conference have approved the plan proposed by Kuwait to set up an Arab Economic and Social Development Fund on the basis of the recommendation of the Baghdad Conference of Arab Ministers of Finance, Economy, and Oil. The participants have agreed on the need to adopt the necessary measures to strengthen military preparation to face all eventualities, and the Conference has decided to expedite the elimination of foreign bases in the Arab states. Commenters have frequently presented the resolution as an example of Arab rejectionism. Abd al-Azim Ramadan stated that the Khartoum decision left only one option: war. All agree that the Khartoum resolution amounted to a rejection of Israel's right to exist. The Palestinian Liberation Organization itself enlisted the Khartoum resolution to advocate against acceptance of Israel's right to exist as articulated in United Nations Security Council Resolution 242. Benny Morris wrote that the Arab leaders hammered out a defiant rejectionist platform that was to bedevil all peace movements, or all peace moves in the region for a decade, despite an Israeli offer on June 19th, 1967, to give up Sinai and Golan in exchange for peace. 1967. We'll probably hit to that at the end of the Six-Day War. We kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but I've never heard of this in my entire life. Although I guess I intuited? Because I felt like in order for peace, but I mean, that's not even intuitive. I just didn't know this particular thing existed. But it's obvious that like peace can't exist for Israel or Palestine until all the other Arab nations come together and decide on it, right? Avi Shleim has argued that Arab spokesmen interpreted the Khartoum declarations to mean no formal peace treaty, but not a rejection of peace, no direct negotiations, but not a refusal to talk through third parties, and no de jure recognitions of Israel, but acceptance of its existence as a state. Emphasis in original. Shleim states that the conference marked a turning point in Arab-Israeli relations by noting that Nasser urged Hussein, the king of Jordan, I believe, right, to seek a comprehensive settlement with Israel. Shleim acknowledges that none of that was then known to Israel, whose leaders took the three no's at face value. Oh, so they had a secret agreement, of course. Wink, wink. Sure. Fred Corey argued that the Khartoum Conference cleared the way for the Arab moderates to seek a political solution and to offer, in exchange for their conquered lands, important concessions short of actually recognizing Israel and negotiating formal peace treaties with her. In the event, indirect negotiations between Israel, Jordan, and Egypt eventually opened through the auspices of the Jarring Mission, and the secret direct talks also took place between Israel and Jordan, but neither avenue succeeded in achieving a meaningful settlement, which set the stage for a new round of conflict. Okay, I don't want to jump this far ahead. Did you have a peaceful settlement of the conflict after the 61 and 67? What does shuttle diplomacy mean? You're like running between a whole bunch of... To serve as an intermediate, yeah, okay.
Can still hear the trees at my back and haunting me, unafraid of
Okay, sorry, I need to not read ahead. Okay, boom, okay, sorry. Boom, boom, boom. We'll do this one later. Okay. Still doing 6-Day War. Oh, these are controversies related to the 6-Day War. Okay, back here. The way Shalom presents it is arguably the most accurate in my reading. Other interpretations are pretty reductive. Okay. Okay, armies. Syria's army had a total strength of 75,000 and was deployed along the border with Israel. Professor David W. Lesh wrote that one would be hard-pressed to find a military less prepared for war with a clearly superior foe. Since Syria's army had been decimated in the months and years prior through coups and attempted coups that had resulted in a series of purges, fracturings, and uprisings within the armed forces. The Jordanian... Oh, hold on. There's something else I need to... We haven't really done any of this, okay. How many Palestinians were living in these other Arab countries at this point? Were they lobbying the governments in the Arab League too, or does that not matter? Unless they've like no, oh, okay. What was I saying? Fuck. How many Palestinians? Oh, it might be missing or it might be absent from the Wikipedia entries. Okay, it could be that these that they're just not including it here for whatever reason, or these just aren't detailed enough to include it. But it seems like I don't know if anybody actually gives a fuck about any of the Palestinians here. I think that they all just like hate Israel. I don't think they actually care about Palestine. But I could be wrong. But that's the feeling. You know? But you know. Or the Palestinians, I should say, since Palestine isn't a real thing. Syria's army, okay. The Jordanian armed forces included 11 brigades, totaling 55,000 troops. 9 brigades, don't need to know this, okay. There's just a sizable number of M113 APCs. We're equipped with some 300 modern Western tanks, 250 of which were the US M48 Pattons. In this war, did you have M48s shooting at other M48s? How do you even, like, tell the difference? They also had 12 battalions of artillery, 6 batteries of 81mm and 120mm rounds, mortars, paratrooper battalion trained in the new US-built school, and a new battalion of mechanized infantry. The Jordanian army was a long-term service professional army, relatively well-equipped and well-trained. Israeli post-war briefings said that the Jordanian staff acted professionally, but was always left half a step behind by the Israeli moves. The small Royal Jordanian Air Force consisted of only 24 British-made Hawker Hunter fighters, 6 transport aircraft, and 2 helicopters. According to the Israelis, the Hawker Hunter was essentially on par with the French-built Dassault Mirage 3, the IAF's best plane. Why would random Arab countries hate Israel for no reason? I don't think it's that they necessarily hate Israel for no reason, but I think the Arab countries see themselves as all sharing one, they purportedly share the common goal of being like a united Arab League, and the Jewish people obviously stand in opposition to that because the Jewish people are Jewish. Well, do they stand in opposition to it? I mean, they would never be as close to the Arabs as the Arabs would want them to be. So I guess they just kind of view like the Jewish people as like odd ones out who never should have been there, right? This is all like Arab conquered land from the past, and they want it to be all like Arab conquered land, and then they want to have like but I mean, like, but also all these Arab states like fight with each other too. So I mean, it's, you know, fuck them. Yeah. Let's see, where were we at? Destiny, no, it's a disdain for the British who they blame for shipping them there. Yeah, I guess, but I mean, like, it feels like if at any point in time all the Arab countries really wanted to combine into one big thing and like do their shit, they could have, but there was too much, it feels like there's too much disunity between the Arab states for them to actually come together and agree on anything, right? Because too many people are vying for power or influence, right? It seems like that Nasser guy, right, was one of the big players in this region who was like, I'm going to be the new head of the massive new like pan-Arab nation. And this type of like conflict, right? Him being pissed off at Iraq for joining U.S. British agreements, or, you know, him taking part in that Yemeni civil war against opposite of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, I think, right? All of them like the vying for influence and fighting amongst each other's, right? And like, yeah. It's very important to know that Muslims believe the Day of Judgment won't come until the Jews are kicked off the Holy Land. Yeah, but clearly that's not what they care about the most. They're more interested, like, which is strange because I would have given you the exact opposite take 10 years ago. I think I've even repeated 10 or 15 years ago. I think I've said this a lot, actually, and now I think I was actually completely wrong on this. I've said in the past that I don't know if people in the Middle East view themselves as being nations the same way that in the U.S., where like the United States and France and Great Britain, right? They're like tribes of people who are different like that. I think it's actually the exact opposite. I think that the people of the Middle East identify more strongly with their nations in general than they do as being similar ethnic groups or similar religious groups, right? That like the Iraqis feel themselves as being, I mean, this is evidence to some extent by like the Iraq-Iranian war, right? Or Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, or Egypt's vying for power from all the other countries, or the disunity between the Gulf states and the Shia states, right? Yeah, I think I've said that a lot before, but I think I'm completely and totally wrong there. That's not true. I think that the peoples of the Middle East actually quite strongly identify with their nations, with some exceptions, right? The Kurdish people don't have a country, for instance. I'm sure there are other groups of people that exist in the Middle East that I just don't know about, that probably also don't, but oh yeah, and maybe like Afghanistan people, although I don't know enough about like the Taliban. Do they feel like they're in terms of, but yeah. But it feels like the different nations and their aspirations as nations are actually quite important, and was probably or was absolutely a huge contributing factor to their inability to like knock Israel out of the Middle East, right? That's what it feels like, but I could be wrong. Arabs don't consider Afghanistan as part of the Middle East. I don't think Afghanistan is technically part of the Middle East. Afghanistan and Pakistan. Pakistan, and I think what's way up there? Oh God, the two countries. It's Kyrgyzstan and it's not Azerbaijan. It's Kyrgyzstan and it's, fuck me, what's the name of the country? Oh, I'm not gonna remember it. Oh, it's Tajikistan, that's right. I don't think those countries are considered part of the Middle East. I think it's Tajikistan. I don't know, let's check. Yeah. I think technically, if you get into something called the Greater Middle East region, it might be, but Iran is over here. Oh, fuck me, I forget. Pakistan, Afghanistan. One of these is Kyrgyzstan, one of these is, I think, Tajikistan or some shit. I don't remember. Fuck me. Google Maps, Pakistan. You know, Iranians aren't Arabs, right? Trust me, I know. If you ever think an Iranian is an Arab, find an Iranian friend and call them an Arab. And they will bite your head off. They're the holy royal Persian peoples, okay? Oh, Uzbekistan was the one I was looking for. Fuck me. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's I never hear anything about these countries, so I forget these ones. It's Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan is your big one up here, and then it's Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. These are north of Afghanistan. You always know that Pakistan is lower because they're always fighting with India. They share the border and they fight over the territory here. Oh, okay. All right. But okay. Test your Middle East country knowledge. I should know most of these. Hold on. It's one of these stupid fucking countries. It's one of these. Is this Turkey? Why the fuck does it look so weird? Okay. Based. Fuck you. Okay. In the immediate aftermath of the war, as the extent of the Arab military defeat became apparent, Arab leaders deferred on whether... What now? Okay. I think we already read this. Oh, we're still in the controversies. Okay. Okay. 100 Iraqi tanks and an infantry division were readied near the Jordanian border. Now, when we say Jordanian border, we're talking like Jerusalem still, right? Because Jordan still owns all of the West Bank here, I believe. So 2 squadrons of Iraqi fighter aircraft, Hawker Hunters and MiG-21s. Okay, we already read of this. Were rebased adjacent to the Jordanian border. Or actually, am I thinking of the Greenland? Would they not have considered the West Bank part of the Jordanian border? I'm not sure, actually. Okay. The weeks leading up to the Six-Day War, Saudi Arabia mobilized forces for deployment to the Jordanian front. Oh, Saudi Arabia joined too. Oh, Jesus. Hold on. Who are all the players in this? I thought it was just like, I thought the Six-Day War was technically just 3 countries, but... Involved forces. We had... Egypt amassing 100,000 troops in the Sinai. Syria deploying 75,000 along their border with Israel. Jordanian armed forces totaled 55,000 troops. 100 Iraqi tanks and an infantry division readied near the Jordanian border. Along with 2 squadrons of Iraqi fighter aircraft. I just butchered that. Aircraft. And Saudi Arabia mobilized forces for deployment to the Jordanian front. I don't know how many. An infantry battalion. A few forces, we'll say. And then, oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, fuck me. I've been underselling this in the past. I thought it was 3 main nations that were fighting with... I thought it was mainly Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, with like a little bit of extra help from a couple other people. I didn't realize it was like every motherfucking... Okay. Arab air forces were also reinforced by aircraft from Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia to make up for the first day losses of the war. Volunteer pilots also came from the Pakistan Air Force, acting in an independent capacity, actually just showing up as kill stealers. Gross. Dobler, $10. Enjoying the stream, love. What note-taking program is that? It's Obsidian. Have you listened to Blink-182's latest album one more time? Nope. I listened to their one song so that everybody could listen and cry or whatever. Okay. Why don't you just copy paste it? Because then it does like links and these like ugly things, and just typing it out probably helps me remember it a bit better. Have you heard the saying that God created war so Americans would learn geography? Okay. Weapons. With the exception of Jordan, the Arabs relied principally on Soviet weaponry. Jordan's army was equipped with American weaponry, and its air force was composed of British aircraft. Egypt had by far the largest and most modern of all the Arab air forces, consisting of about 420 combat aircraft, all of them Soviet-built, and with a large number of top-of-the-line MiG-21s. Of particular concern to the Israelis were the 30 Tu-16 Badger medium bombers capable of inflicting heavy damage on Israeli military and civilian centers. Has Israel ever been bombed by any of these people, or did all the other aircraft get blown up first? Would you have Nasser on the stream? There's no way that dude's still alive, right? No, died in 1970, bro. Ooh, he died young. Damn, how did he die? Right after this, they get bombed in Tel Aviv. Oh, jeez. Israeli weapons were mainly of Western origin. Its air force was composed principally of French aircraft, while its armored units were mostly of British and American design and manufacture. Some light infantry weapons, including the ubiquitous Uzi, were of Israeli origin. The Arab armies, Egypt, Syria, and Iraq, Jordan used these. Artillery, aircraft, helicopters, AAW, infantry weapons. Although the powerful Jordanian, the radar facility at Ajloun detected waves of aircraft approaching Egypt and reported the code word for war up the Egyptian command chain. Egyptian command and communications problems prevented the warning from reaching the targeted airfields. We don't need this. Where is this? Okay, this is northwestern Jordan, east of like the West Bank over here. Okay. So way up here. I can see all this shit, I guess. Okay. Waves of aircraft approaching Egypt. Okay. The Israelis employed a mixed attack strategy, bombing and strafing runs against planes parked on the ground, and bombing to disable runways with special tarmac shredding penetration bombs developed jointly with France, leaving surviving aircraft unable to take off. The runway at the Arish airfield was spared, as the Israelis expected to turn it into a military airport for their transports after the war. Jesus. Is this in the Sinai, or where is this? It is, okay, because they were like, we're taking this shit. I'm guessing this is the Sinai, right? Oh yeah, because this is Gaza. Yeah. That's so greedy. Fuck, what's a game that you play where you do shit like this? I'm not gonna blow this shit up because I'm gonna take it later. Matthew Perry of Friends died. Okay. Civilization 6, is it? Surviving aircraft. Surviving aircraft were taken out by later attack waves. The operation was more successful than expected, catching the Egyptians by surprise and destroying virtually all of the Egyptian Air Force on the ground with few Israeli losses. Only 4 unarmed Egyptian training flights were in the air when the strike began. Imagine coming back to base and all your shit is gone. Jesus. Matthew Perry dies drowning. Damn. Dead at 54. Uh-oh. A total of 338 Egyptian aircraft were destroyed and 100 pilots were killed, although the number of aircraft lost by the Egyptians is disputed. Among the Egyptian planes lost were all 30, we don't need to know this. Egyptian radar and SAM missiles were also attacked and destroyed. The Israelis lost 19 planes, including 2 destroyed in air-to-air combat and 13 downed by anti-aircraft artillery. One Israeli plane, which was damaged and unable to break radio silence, was shot down by Israeli Hawk missiles after it strayed over the Negev Nuclear Research Center. Another was destroyed by an exploding Egyptian bomber. The attack guaranteed Israeli air supremacy for the rest of the war. Attacks on other Arab air forces by Israel took place later in the day as hostilities broke out on other fronts. The large number of Arab aircraft claimed destroyed by Israel on that day were at first regarded as greatly exaggerated by the Western press. However, the fact that the Egyptian Air Force, along with other Arab air forces attacked by Israel, made practically no appearance for the remaining days of the conflict proved that the numbers were most likely authentic. Throughout the war, Israeli aircraft continued strafing Arab airfield runways to prevent their return to usability. Meanwhile, Egyptian state-run radio had reported an Egyptian victory, falsely claiming that 70 Israeli planes had been downed on the first day of fighting. Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula. I know that the Friends dude is dead. I don't. Okay, thank you. Please. Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula. The Egyptian forces consisted of 7 divisions, 4 armored, 2 infantry, and 1 mechanized infantry. Overall, Egypt had around 100,000 troops and 900 to 950 tanks in the Sinai, backed by 1,100 APCs and 1,000 artillery pieces. This arrangement was thought to be based on the Soviet doctrine, where mobile armor units at strategic depth provided dynamic defense while infantry units engaged in defensive battles. Israeli forces concentrated on the border with Egypt, included 6 armored brigades, 1 infantry brigade, 1 mechanized infantry brigade, 3 paratrooper brigades, giving a total of around 70,000 men and 700 tanks. Were organized in 3 armored divisions. The Israeli plan was to surprise the Egyptian forces in both timing, the attack exactly coinciding with the IAF strike on Egyptian airfields, location, attacking via northern and central Sinai routes, as opposed to the Egyptian expectations of a repeat of the 1956 war, when the IDF attacked via the central and southern routes, and method, use a combined forced flanking approach rather than direct tank assaults. Yeah. It feels like so a lot of this I remember from the Suez Crisis. It seems like, if the Wikipedia is to be believed, that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, seem to learn a lot from prior conflicts, right? They spoke about the importance of air supremacy during the conflict. They spoke about how important it was to be quick and mobile rather than to have like large, clumsy armor. And it seems like they utilize these lessons in future conflict pretty well, obviously. I mean, on the 5th of June at 7:50 a.m., the northernmost Israeli division, consisting of 3 brigades and commanded by Major General Israel Tal. What if you were from a country and your name was the name of the country? It seems kind of cringe. Like, imagine if my name was like United States of America Bonnell. Like, cringe. What does Israel stand for? Doesn't Israel mean something? Destiny, they have to be mobile and offensive because Israel is so small. There's no such thing as retreating to a fallback position. Sure. People are named America? Oh, cringe. Jordan? Well, are there people in Jordan named Jordan? Jordan doesn't feel like a very Jordanian name. Israel is the name of Jacob? Whatever, cringe. Means he who wrestles with God. Yes, everyone in Jordan is named Jordan. One of Israel's most prominent armor commanders crossed the border at 2 points, opposite Nahal Oz and south of Khan Yunis. They advanced swiftly, holding fire to prolong the element of surprise. Tal's forces assaulted the Rafah Gap, an 11-kilometer stretch containing the shortest of 3 main routes through the Sinai towards El Qantara and the Suez Canal. The Egyptians had 4 divisions in the area, backed by minefields, pillboxes, underground bunkers, hidden gun emplacements, and trenches. The terrain on either side of the route was impassable. The Israeli plan was to hit the Egyptian at selected key points with concentrated armor. Tiny haters already in the trenches. Oh, stop. Please, stop. Hold on. Stop. You're getting banned. If you're linking cherry tweets or like response to tweets, I'm giving you huge bans. Stop. Jesus. Stop. Please don't give people attention. Jordan is the English version of the make it a ban phrase. If RTBA is here, do it like 24-hour ban or 2-week ban or whatever. If anybody linking your fucking Twitter. The Israeli plan was to the Egyptians. Okay. Tal's advance was led by the 7th Armored Brigade under Colonel Shmuel Gonen. The Israeli plan called for the 7th Brigade to outflank Khan Yunis from the north and the 60th Armored Brigade under Colonel... Okay, I don't need like... Kevils is shitting on Hassan. Okay, I'm blocked by like half these Twitter accounts. I don't care. Okay. The brigades would link up and surround Khan Yunis, while the paratroopers would take Rafah. Gonen entrusted the breakthrough to a single battalion of his brigade. Initially, the advance was met with light resistance, as Egyptian intelligence had concluded that it was a diversion for the main attack. However, as Gonen's lead battalion advanced, it suddenly came under intense fire and took heavy losses. A second battalion was brought up, but was also pinned down. Meanwhile, the 60th Brigade became bogged down in the sand, while the paratroopers had trouble navigating through the dunes. The Israelis continued to press their attack, and despite heavy losses, cleared the Egyptian positions and reached the Khan Yunis railway junction in a little over 4 hours. When you definitely don't hate Hassan. What? Okay, I don't care about couples tweets right now. How big is a battalion in number of men? I'm not sure, but there's like standards for all of this, I think. Like worldwide, right? Like a battalion, a brigade. A battalion consists of 300 to 1,000 soldiers. I don't know all the different fucking... There's got to be like Hoi fans or some shit that where they use all this terminology, but... Around 1200 for the US, gotcha. Gonen's brigade then advanced 9 miles to Rafah in twin columns. Rafah itself was circumvented, and the Israelis attacked Sheikh Zuweid, 13 kilometers or 8 miles to the southwest, which was defended by 2 brigades. Though inferior in numbers and equipment, the Egyptians were deeply entrenched and camouflaged. The Israelis were pinned down by fierce Egyptian resistance and called an air and artillery sport to enable their lead elements to advance. Many Egyptians abandoned their positions after their commander and several of his staff were killed. Sheikh Zuweid, gotcha. The Israelis broke through with tank-led assaults. However, Avarim's forces misjudged the Egyptians' flank and were pinned between strongholds before they were extracted after several hours. By nightfall, the Israelis had finished mopping up resistance. Israeli forces had taken significant losses, with Colonel Gonen later telling reporters that we left many of our dead soldiers in Rafah and many burnt-out tanks. The Egyptians suffered some 2,000 casualties and lost 40 tanks. Advanced on Arish. The 5th of June, with the road open, Israeli forces continued advancing towards Arish. Already by late afternoon, elements of the 79th Armored Battalion had charged through the 11-kilometer, 7-mile-long Girati Defile, a narrow pass defended by well-emplaced troops of the Egyptian 112th Infantry Brigade. In fierce fighting, which saw the pass change hands several times, the Israelis charged through the position. The Egyptians suffered heavy casualties and tank losses, while Israeli losses stood at 66 dead, 93 wounded, and 28 tanks. Emerging at the western end, Israeli forces advanced to the outskirts. Do we need to read all of this? Receiving supplies via airdrop. Oh, hello. Wait. What are... Oh, fuck. I was thinking of, Fortnite. No, I wasn't. I was thinking of Fulton pickups from Metal Gear Solid 5. Sorry. The Israelis entered the city and captured the airport at 7:50 a.m. The Egyptians fired from the rooftops, from balconies and windows. They dropped grenades into our half trucks and blocked the streets with trucks. Our men threw the grenades back and crushed the trucks with their tanks. Gonen sent additional units to Arish, and the city was eventually taken. Brigadier General Avraham Yoffe's assignment was to penetrate Sinai south of Tal's forces and north of Sharon's. Yoffe's attack allowed Tal to complete the capture of the Gerati Defile, Khan Yunis. All of them were taken after fierce fighting. Gonen subsequently dispatched a force of tanks, infantry, and engineers under Colonel Yisrael Granite to continue down the Mediterranean coast towards the Suez Canal, while a second force... okay. Wait, what? Hold on. Let's see. The mid-front. Further south, on the 6th of June... The Israeli 38th Armored Division under Major General Ariel Sharon assaulted Katef, a heavily fortified area defended by the Egyptian second. When this says mid-front, is that referring to the Jordanian side, or is it mid-front of the Sinai? Oh, it is the Sinai Peninsula, I think. Okay. As night fell, the Israeli troops lit flashlights, each battalion a different color, to prevent friendly fire incidents. At 10 p.m., Israeli artillery began a barrage on Katef, firing some 6,000 shells in less than 20 minutes. The most concentrated artillery barrage in Israel's history. Israeli tanks assaulted the northernmost Egyptian defenses and were largely successful, though an entire armored brigade was stalled by mines and had only one mine clearance tank. To the west, paratroopers commanded by Colonel Daniel... Those that successfully landed on target destroyed Egyptian artillery and ammunition dumps and separated gun crews from their batteries. That was a youth's attack, large Sharon. Okay, other Israeli forces. Okay, I think we got it. We got you. Chandler, no. What is Chandler? Oh, wow. Oh my God. How you just... Okay. Oh, what is this? Hold on. Further south, on the 5th of June, the 8th Armored Brigade under Colonel Albert Mandler, initially positioned as a ruse to draw off Egyptian forces from the real invasion routes, attacked the fortified bunkers at Kuntilla. Got him. Kuntilla, a strategically valuable position whose capture would enable Mandler to block reinforcements from reaching Katef and to join Sharon's upcoming attack on Nakal. The defending Egyptian battalion, outnumbered and outgunned, fiercely resisted the attack, hitting a number of Israeli tanks. Most of the defenders were killed, and only 3 Egyptian tanks, one of them damaged, survived. By nightfall, Mandler's forces had taken Kuntilla. With the exceptions of Rafah and Khan Yunis, Israeli forces had initially avoided entering the Gaza Strip. Initial vote, okay. Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan had expressly forbidden entry into the area after Palestinian positions in Gaza opened fire on the Negev settlements of Nirim and Kisufim. IDF Chief of Staff Yitzhak Rabin overrode Dayan's instructions and ordered the 11th Mechanized Brigade under Colonel Yehuda Reshef to enter the strip. The force was immediately met with heavy artillery fire and fierce resistance from Palestinian forces and the remnants of the Egyptian forces from Rafah. By sunset, the Israelis had taken the strategically vital Ali Muntar Ridge overlooking Gaza City, but were beaten back from the city itself. Some 70 Israelis were killed, along with Israeli journalist Ben Oizerman and American journalist Paul Schutzer. Schutzer? I would say Schutzer. 12 members of UNEF were also killed on the war's second day. Killed by who? On the war's second day, 6th of June, the Israelis were bolstered by the 35th Paratroopers Brigade under Colonel Raphael Eaton and took Gaza City along with the entire strip. The fighting was fierce and accounted for nearly half of all of Israeli casualties on the southern front. However, Gaza rapidly fell to the Israelis. Meanwhile, on the 6th of June, the two Israeli reserve brigades under Yafi, each equipped with 100 tanks, penetrated the Sinai south of Tal's division and north of Sharon's, capturing the road junctions of Abu Agila, Bur, Lafan, and Arish. Taking all of them before midnight, 2 Egyptian armored brigades counterattacked, and a fierce battle took place. Till the following morning, the Egyptians were beaten back by fierce resistance, coupled with airstrikes, sustaining heavy tank losses. They fled west towards Jabal Libni. During the ground fighting, remnants of the Egyptian Air Force attacked Israeli ground forces, but took losses from the Israeli Air Force and from Israeli anti-aircraft units. Throughout the last 4 days, Egyptian aircraft flew 150 sorties against Israeli units in the Sinai. 150 sorties. Did they have aircraft left to fly? Many of the Egyptian units remained intact and could have tried to prevent the Israelis from reaching the Suez Canal or engaged in combat in the attempt to reach the canal. However, when the Egyptian Field Marshal Abdel Hakim Amr heard about the fall of Abu Agila, he panicked and ordered all units in the Sinai to retreat. This order effectively meant the defeat of Egypt. Meanwhile, President Nasser, having learned of the results of the Israeli airstrikes, decided together with Field Marshal Amr to order a general retreat from the Sinai within 24 hours. No detailed instructions were given concerning the manner and sequence of withdrawal. Jesus, imagine how high you can fall in 24 hours, right? So it was basically one day that Egypt was shattered. I think, right? Essentially. Or maybe 2 days, 48 hours, I guess. Rip. Damn. As Egyptian columns retreated, Israeli aircraft and artillery attacked them. Israeli jets used napalm bombs during their sorties. The attacks destroyed hundreds of vehicles and caused heavy casualties. At Jabal Libni, retreating Egyptian soldiers were fired upon by their own artillery. At Bur Gafgafa, the Egyptians fiercely resisted advancing Israeli forces, knocking out 3 tanks and 8 half-tracks and killing 20 soldiers. Due to the Egyptians' retreat, the Israeli High Command decided not to pursue the Egyptian units, but rather to bypass and destroy them in the mountainous passes of West Sinai. Citation needed. Therefore, the following 2 days, all 3 Israeli divisions, Sharon and Tal, were reinforced by an armored brigade, rushed westward, and reached the passes. Sharon's 1st Division... Okay, we don't need this. According to Egyptian diplomat Mahmoud Raid, 10,000 men were killed in 1 day alone. Oh, these passes became killing grounds for the Egyptians, who ran right into waiting Israeli positions and suffered heavy losses in both soldiers and vehicles. According to Egyptian diplomat Mahmoud Riyad, 10,000 men were killed in 1 day alone, and many others died from hunger and thirst. Tal's units stopped at various points to link the Suez Canal. Citation needed. I don't know of which part. Maybe just for the last one. Israel's blocking action was partially successful, and the Gidi Pass was captured before the Egyptians approached it. The Israelis eventually exceeded their capabilities to provide for prisoners. As a result, they began directing soldiers towards the Suez Canal, and only imprisoned high-ranking officers who were expected to be exchanged for captured Israeli pilots. According to some accounts, LOL, you said you would take more notes on this one at Destiny. Well, this is all just like battlefield stuff. There's not really like many notes to be taken here. There were a lot more notes for the last conflict because this was like incredibly political in nature. The Suez Crisis was this is just like a war, right? Kind of. There's not as much. I'm really going to be mainly interested in the resolution of the conflict afterwards and probably international response to the conflict. Those are going to be the most important things. Destiny, the embargo on weapons shipments mentioned earlier in the controversies wiki page. This is referencing U.S. policy. It'd be good to review after the Six-Day War. During the early 1960s, the U.S. government sought to establish a regional arms limitation agreement in the Middle East. I understand what you're saying, that happened in the 60s, but my understanding is that in 1966, France decided to pull weapon shipments to Israel, and the United States decided to step up and replace that arms shipment. Until 1966, Israel's weapons, these were notes I had earlier, Israel's weapons came from France, though Charles de Gaulle ceased supplying Israel with arms post-Algerian withdrawal, after France lost their colony, basically. And then the U.S. stepped in to replace the flow of weapons, and they started selling them a fuck ton of things. Like, I think we sold them like 200 tanks, M48s, whatever, and a bunch of other things before this war. That's why I didn't understand that one line, but it's not that important, I think. Yeah, okay, where am I? Let's see. According to some accounts, during the Egyptian retreat from the Sinai, a unit of Soviet Marines based on a Soviet warship in Port Said at the time came ashore and attempted to cross the Suez Canal eastward. The Soviet Destiny, Lily Pichu liking tweets blaming the US for Gaza. Please stop. The Soviet force was reportedly decimated by an Israeli air attack and lost 17 dead and 34 wounded. Among the wounded was the commander, Lieutenant Colonel Viktor Shevchenko. According to some accounts, how do you not know that 100%? I feel like that would be known pretty well if that was true now, or I guess, I don't know. During the offensive, the Israeli Navy, what is the source for this? I'm curious. 28. Junior, Isabella, and Ramez Gideon, the Soviet-Israeli War. The USSR's military intervention in the Egypt-Israeli conflict, page 23. Great. During the initial offensive, or during the offensive, the Israeli Navy landed 6 combat divers from the Shayatet 13 Naval Commando unit to infiltrate Alexandria Harbor. The divers sank an Egyptian minesweeper before being taken prisoner. Both Egyptian and Israeli warships made movements at sea to intimidate the other side throughout the war, but did not engage each other. However, Israeli warships and aircraft did hunt for Egyptian submarines throughout the war. Do submarines surface and attack, like, land? Can that happen? Or do submarines mainly just fight submarines and ships? Cruise missiles? Do those exist in the 60s? Submarines shoot missiles. Huh, okay. Imagine a submarine with monster truck wheels. That would be unstoppable. True. Not that this is a groundbreaking or anything, just a take Destiny drop that wasn't really true with Mr. Beat. We didn't forgive Germany and move on with our lives. The world enslaved Nazi researchers and literally hunted them down all over the world to murder them if not useful. Russia did this, America did this, Israel did this, etc. The shift in German policy wasn't due to an understanding between Nazi Germany and the world. I wouldn't say that we, like, necessarily, quote unquote, like, just completely forgave Germany, but, like, didn't we literally forgive their war debts? Am I wrong on that? Didn't we forgive all debt in World War II? We wouldn't have forgiven war debts. I don't think we lent money for Germany, but I thought, like, all debt at the end of World War II was cleared from, like, everybody. And we just tried to kind of, like, work to build, I know we did with, like, Japan, right? Try to work to build them back up and everything. I know that there was different operations on both sides to take, like, scientists from Nazi Germany. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I can go read some post-World War II shit. But, like, I know that after World War I, for instance, Germany was saddled with a ton of debt. I don't believe they were after World War II, but now you're making me doubt myself. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay. Germany finished paying off its World War II debts in 2010. All right, hold on. Before the war officially ended, the United States, Great Britain, and France and the Soviet Union discussed what Germany would owe. In February of 1945, the Allies estimated that Germany would owe about $20 billion. By the winter of 1945, total reparations were estimated at over $300 billion. Okay, there you go. By the winter... It was believed that initially they suggested more reparations. Okay, hold on. World War II. We did that to Japan because they promised to make anime. Germany extracted payments from occupied countries, compelled loans, stole or destroyed property after World War II. According to the Potsdam Conference between Germany was to pay the Allies $23 billion, mainly in machinery and manufacturing plants. Dismantling in the West stopped in 1950. Reparations Soviet Union stopped in 1953. Beginning before the Germans surrendered, continued for the next 2 years, the United States pursued a vigorous program of harvesting technological and scientific know-hows, as well as patents of many leading scientists in Germany, known as Operation Paperclip. Historian John Gimble, in his book Science, Technology, Reparations, Allies, Intellectual Reparations, taking the Allies $10 billion. German reparations were partly to be in the form of forced labor. Around 1947, approximately 4 million German POW civilians were used as for civilian laborers. Okay, there you go. Boom. Okay, where were we? Oh. Took the city, killing 20 Egyptian soldiers, taking 8 more prisoners. On the 8th of June, Israel completely captured the Sinai by sending infantry units to Ras Sudar on the western coast of the peninsula. Several tactical elements made the swift Israeli advance possible. One was the surprise attack that quickly gave the Israeli Air Force complete air superiority. 2, the determined implementation of an innovative battle plan. And 3, the lack of coordination among Egyptian troops. Egyptian control of Jordanian forces. King Hussein had given control of his army to Egypt on the 1st of June, on which date Egyptian General Raid arrived in Amman to take control of the Jordanian military. Now, this is really bad, I think, because, right, the Egyptian military culture was essentially to promote people that were, like, cool. I think that was the case, right? So as opposed to, I think the Israeli military promoted based on battlefield exploits or, you know, capability to command. Egypt was promoting people based on, I guess, who they liked the most. And apparently that was one of the driving factors for why Egyptian command was so poor, I think, supposedly. Egyptian Field Marshal Amir used the confusion of the first hours of the conflict to send a cable to Amman that he was victorious. He claimed as evidence a radar sighting of a squadron of Israeli aircraft returning from bombing raids in Egypt, which he said was an Egyptian aircraft en route to attack Israel. In this cable, sent shortly before 9 a.m., Riyadh was ordered to attack. Cannon 499. Out of Crowder, Shapiro, the Hodge twins, and Matt Walsh, who do you think you could beat in a thumb wrestling match? Depends on how hard your mom is fucking me. Initial attack. One of the Jordanian, Egypt, and a lot of post-colonial nations in general have a big kleptocrat problem. Ultra-rampant corruption and destiny. Okay. One of the Jordanian brigades stationed in the West Bank was sent to the Hebron area in order to link with the Egyptians. The IDF's strategic plan was to remain on the defensive along the Jordanian front to enable focus in the expected campaign against Egypt. Now, remember, I think Jordanian front is here, right? It's not actually in It's not actually over here, right? It's here in the West Bank? Oh, yeah, here's Hebron. Yes, that's true. Okay, because Hebron is in the... I think this is the West Bank, right? Yeah, because Jerusalem is up here. The West Bank is like all this area up here. The IDF strategic plan was to remain on the defensive to enable focus on the extended campaign against Egypt. Intermittent machine gun exchanges began taking place in Jerusalem at 9:30 a.m., and the fighting gradually escalated as the Jordanians introduced mortar and recoilless rifle fire. What the fuck does that mean? What is a recoilless rifle fire? This is alien tech? Under the orders from General Narkis, the Israelis responded only with small arms fire, firing in a flat trajectory to avoid hitting civilians, holy sites, or the old city. Oh, anti-tank guns and RPGs. Okay. At 10 a.m. on the 5th of June, the Jordanian army began shelling Israel. 2 batteries of 155mm long tom cannons opened fire on the suburbs of Tel Aviv and Ramat David Air Base. The commanders of these batteries were instructed to lay a 2-hour barrage against military and civilian settlements in central Israel. Some shells hit the outskirts of Tel Aviv. It's probably like noteworthy battle things. Egypt. Well, I mean, I think the surprise attack on Egyptian airfield guaranteed all but certain victory in the Sinai for Israel. Jordanian army was instructed to lay a 2-hour barrage against military and civilian settlements in central Israel itself. I guess it's probably worth noting that IDF originally was to avoid Gaza Strip / city, but firing from that area, or attacks I should say, I guess, or shelling, attacks from that area forced the IDF to invade and conquer, I guess. Or I could just say to conquer. Just take over. Some shells hit the outskirts of Tel Aviv. By 10:30 a.m., Eshkol, who was the current prime minister of Israel, I believe, right, has sent a message via Odd Bull. The fuck is that? Lieutenant General Odd Bull was a career officer in the Royal Norwegian Air Force who rose to the position of Chief of Air Staff. Okay, to King Hussein, promising not to initiate any action against Jordan if it stayed out of the war. King Hussein replied that it was too late. The die was cast. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's see. Eshkol promised Israel would not initiate any action against Jordan if it stayed out of the war, but King Hussein refused. God, it makes it so hard to feel bad for any of these people. Okay. The die was cast. At 11:15 a.m., Jordanian howitzers began a 6,000 shell barrage at Israeli Jerusalem. Oof. The Jordanians initially targeted Kibbutz Ramat Rachel in the south and Mount Scopus in the north, then ranged into the city center and outlying neighborhoods. Military installations, the prime minister's residence, and the Knesset compound were also targeted. Wait, is the Knesset in Jerusalem? I didn't know that. Wait, that's what they're shelling, right? I just assumed it was in Tel Aviv. I don't know why I assumed that. I guess there's no reason to think that, huh? The Knesset meets in Givat Ram, Jerusalem. Yes. I mean, I guess they've had it since the beginning, so it makes sense, huh? Damn, you really put your capital like that close? Isn't that kind of spooky to put your capital like that close to like everybody that wants to kill you? Like you'd think it would go more towards the west, no? Like it's literally like your whole shit is surrounded by, you just don't give a fuck. You're God's chosen people, I guess. Yeah, fuck it. Jesus. Okay. The Knesset compound was also targeted. Jordanian forces shelled the Beit Hanassi and the Biblical Zoo. What is this, like the two of every animal zoo? What the fuck does that mean? Killing 15 civilians. The Tish Family Biblical Zoo in Jerusalem. Popularly known as the Jerusalem Zoo, located in the Malha neighborhood of Jerusalem. It's famous for its Afro-Asiatic collection of wildlife, many of which are described in the Hebrew Bible, as well as for its success in breeding endangered species. Okay. Jesus. Bro, this snake could kill both of these people with one squeeze. Bait is pronounced bait. It's Arabic for house of. Okay. Israeli civilian casualties totaled 20 dead and over 1,000 wounded. Let's see. Jordanian shelling of Jerusalem resulted in 20 dead and 1,000 wounded civilians. If we're to believe the Israeli numbers. Okay. I'll put that out there. Some 900 buildings were damaged, including Hadassah in Kerem Hospital, which had its Shekel-made windows destroyed. What the fuck does that mean? Marc Chagall was a Jewish, Belarusian, and French artist, an early modernist. He was associated with several major artistic styles. Who cares, loser? Okay. At 11:50 a.m., 16 Jordanian hawker hunters attacked Netanya, Kfar Sirkin, and Kfar Sabah, killing 1 civilian, wounding 7, and destroying a transport plane. 3 Iraqi hawker hunters strafed civilian settlements in the Jezreel Valley, and an Iraqi Tupolev 216 attacked Afula and was shot down near the Megiddo airfield. The attack caused minimal material damage, hitting only a senior citizen's home and several chicken coops, but 16 Israeli soldiers were killed, most of them when the Tupolev crashed. What, did the helicopter crash into the soldiers? Jesus. Okay. Israeli cabinet meets. When the Israeli cabinet convened to decide what to do, Yigal Allon and Menahem Begin argued that this was an opportunity to take the old city of Jerusalem. Jesus. But Eshkol decided to defer any decision until Moshe Dayan and Yitzhak Rabin could be consulted, who were busy fighting in the south, right? No. Moshe Dayan wasn't fighting. He was the defense minister at that point in time. Uzi, was this the guy that it was named after? Uzi Narkis made a number of proposals for military action, including the capture of Latrun, but the cabinet turned it down. Dayan rejected multiple requests from Narkis for permission to mount an infantry assault towards Mount Scopus. However, Dayan sanctioned a number of more limited retaliatory actions. Was a commander of the Israel Defense Force. He appears on the famous photograph of Defense Minister Moshe Dayan, flanked by the Chief of Staff the old city of Jerusalem shortly after its capture from Jordanian forces. Later activities. Did they name the Uzi after this guy? I'm just so curious. I want to know. Oh, well, fuck you. Uzi. Family of Israeli submachine guns. Prototype was finished in 1950. It was first introduced to the IDF Special Forces in 1954, and then was placed in a general issue 2 years later. Our design uses an open bolt blowback operated design, quite similar to some bullshit, or the production of some bullshit. was designed by Captain Uziel Gal. Why didn't he call it the Uziel then? What a loser. The IDF, following the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the weapon was submitted to the Israeli army for evaluation and went out over more conventional designs due to its simplicity and economy of manufacture. Gal did not want the weapon to be named after him, but his request was ignored. Why? Nice. The Uzi was officially adopted in 1951. First introduced to IDF Special Forces in 1954, the weapon was placed in a general issue 2 years later. What did this defense minister look like? People keep wanting me to look this guy up. Israeli military leader and politician. Big boss. Oh, and this was the... No, it's not. How did he lose his eye? Oh, eye patch. The night before the invasion of Syria-Lebanon, of the Syria-Lebanon campaign, this is prior to Israel independence. So he would have been part of the Haganah or whatever, do you think? Or part of some other... one of the other two. Oh, at the age of 14, he joined the Haganah, which was one of the three arms of the early Israeli Defense Force. 1941, the night before the invasion of Syria-Lebanon campaign, Dayan's unit crossed the border and secured 2 bridges over the Litany River. During that time, Dayan served under the command of British Lieutenant General Sir Henry Maitland Wilson, I guess. When they were not relieved as expected at 4 a.m. on the 8th of June, the unit perceived that it was exposed to possible attack and assaulted a nearby. A few hours later, as Dayan was on the roof of the building using binoculars to scan Vichy French positions on the other side of the river, the binoculars were struck by a French rifle bullet fired by a sniper from several hundred yards away, propelling metal and glass fragments into his left eye and causing severe damage. 6 hours passed before he could be evacuated, and he would have died if not for Bernard Daub Prater, who took care of him until they were evacuated. Dayan lost the eye. In addition, the damage to the extraocular muscles was such that Dayan could not be fitted with a glass eye, and he was compelled to adopt the black eye patch that became his trademark. Letters from this time revealed that despite losing his left eye and suffering serious injuries to the area where the eye was located, Dayan still pleaded with Wilson to be re-enlisted in combat. He also underwent eye surgery in 1947 at a hospital in Paris, which proved to be unsuccessful. The years immediately following the disability caused him some psychological pain. Dayan wrote in his autobiography, "I reflected with considerable misgivings on my future as a cripple without a skilled trade or profession to provide for my family." He added that he was ready to make any effort and stand any suffering if only I could get rid of my black eye patch. The attention it drew was intolerable to me. I preferred to shut myself up at home doing anything rather than encounter the reactions of people wherever I went. Well, hey, I mean, good for you, I guess. You made something of yourself. Okay, and this was near south of Jerusalem, West Bank. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Where were we? But the cabinet turned him down. Dayan rejected multiple requests for Narkis for permission to mount an infantry. Okay. Initial response. Shortly before 12:30 p.m., the Israeli Air Force attacked Jordan's 2 air bases. The Hawker hunters were refueling at the time of the attack. The Israeli aircraft attacked in 2 waves, the first of which cratered the runways and knocked out the control towers. The picture you Google, or when you Google them, the picture that comes up is not flattering. Oh my God. This guy lived to be like 66? Listen, that's a bad picture, okay? I'm sure they could have found a better one. Wait, where were we? Oh. The Hawker hunters were refueling. Israeli aircraft attacked H3, an Iraqi Air Force base in western Iraq. During the attack, damn, how far deep is this? Oh, okay. This border here is this is the northeast side of Jordan, right? Right here. Why can't I? I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Okay. During the attack, 12 MiG-21s, 2 MiG-17s, 500 F-6s, and 3 Tu-28 bombers were destroyed or shot down. A Pakistani pilot stationed at the base, Saiful Azam, who was posted with the Royal Jordanian Air Force, as an advisor, shot down an Israeli fighter and a bomber during the raid. The Jordanian radar facility at Ajloun was destroyed in an Israeli airstrike. Israeli Fuga Magister jets attacked the Jordanian 40th Brigade with rockets as it moved south from the Demia Bridge. Dozens of tanks were knocked out. A convoy of 26 trucks carrying ammunition was destroyed. In Jerusalem, Israel responded to Jordanian shelling with a missile strike that devastated Jordanian positions. The Israelis used the L missile, a surface-to-surface missile developed jointly with France in secret. Jordanian battalion at Government House. A Jordanian battalion advanced up Government House Ridge. Is this where the Knesset is, I'm guessing? And dug in at the perimeter of Government House, the headquarters of the United Nations Observers, and opened fire on Ramat Rachel? This was a kibbutz, I think, right? The Allenby barracks and the Jewish section of Abu Tor with mortars and recoilless rifles. What the? UN observers fiercely protested the incursion into the neutral zone, and several manhandled a Jordanian machine gun out of a government house after the crew had set it up on a second-floor window. Jesus. After the Jordanian occupied Jebel Makabir, an advanced patrol was sent out and approached Ramat Rachel.
Have you seen what's on that thing?
No. Stop trying to hit me. Your abuse
What?
is sick.
Yeah, I like to abuse you. Bitch. What are you doing here?
Just reading.
Tell me about it.
Tell them it's cool stuff. All the fightings, where they came under fire from 4 civilians, including the wife of the director, who were armed with old Czech-made weapons. Mukaber. I don't know. The immediate Israeli response was an offensive to retake Government House, and its ridge. The Jerusalem Brigade's Reserve Battalion, 161, under Lieutenant Colonel Asher Driesen, was given the task. Driesen had 2 infantry companies and 8 tanks under his command, several of which broke down and became stuck in the mud at Ramat Rachel, leaving 3 for the assault. The Jordanians mounted fierce resistance, knocking out 2 tanks. The Israelis broke through the compound's western gate and began clearing the buildings with grenades before General Odbul, commander of the UN observers, compelled the Israelis to hold their fire, telling them that the Jordanians had already fled. The Israelis proceeded to take the Antenna Hill directly behind Government House and clear out a series of bunkers to the west and south. The fighting, often conducted hand-to-hand, continued for nearly 4 hours before the surviving Jordanians fell back to trenches held by the Hittin Brigade, which were steadily overwhelmed. By 6:30 a.m., the Jordanians had retreated to Bethlehem, having suffered about 100 casualties. All but 10 of Driesen's soldiers were casualties, and Driesen himself was wounded 3 times. Bethlehem is south of Jerusalem, currently in the West Bank. Okay. Israeli invasion. During the late afternoon of the 5th of June, the Israelis launched an offensive to encircle Jerusalem, which lasted into the following day. During the night, they were supported by intense tank, artillery, and mortar fire to soften up Jordanian positions. Searchlights placed atop the Labor Federation building, then the tallest in Israel, Israeli Jerusalem, exposed and blinded the Jordanians. The Jerusalem Brigade moved south of Jerusalem. A combined force of tanks and paratroopers crossed no man's land near the Mandelbaum Gate. Gur's 6th Paratroop Battalion approached. Okay, I don't need all of these details. All of the Israeli officers, except for 2 company commanders, were killed, and the fighting was mostly led by individual soldiers. Jordan, $10. You need to hug your wife. I'm going to hug your wife. The fighting was conducted at close quarters in trenches and bunkers and was often hand-to-hand. During the battle, 36 Israelis and 71 Jordanian soldiers were killed. I used to attack the fortress at Latrun, which the Jordanians had abandoned due to heavy Israeli tank fire. The mechanized Jordanians fell back after a battle that left 2 Israeli and Jordanian soldiers dead, and Israeli forces advanced through blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, 600 Egyptian commandos stationed in the West Bank moved to attack Israeli airfields. Led by Jordanian intelligence scouts, they crossed the border and began infiltrating through Israeli settlements towards Ramla and Hatzor. They were soon detected and sought shelter in nearby fields, which the Israelis set on fire. Some 450 commandos were killed, and the remainder escaped to Jordan. Oof, that was not 20 good men. From the American colony, the paratroopers moved toward the old city. Their plan was to approach it via the lightly defended Salah al-Din Street. However, they made a wrong turn onto the heavily defended Nablus Road. The Israelis ran into fierce resistance. Their tanks fired at point-blank range down the street, while the paratroopers mounted repeated charges. Despite repelling repeated Israeli charges, the Jordanians eventually gave way to Israeli firepower and momentum. The Israelis suffered some 30 casualties, half the original force. Okay, we don't need every single fucking fight in Jerusalem and over here. Jesus. Fearing damage to holy sites and the prospect of having to fight in built-up areas, Dayan ordered his troops not to enter the old city. He also feared that Israel would be subjected to a fierce international backlash and the outrage of Christians worldwide if it forced its way into the old city. Privately, he told David Ben-Gurion that he was also concerned over the prospect of Israel capturing Jerusalem's holy sites, only to be forced to give them up under the threat of international sanctions. That's pretty smart. Dayan ordered troops not to capture the old city due to potential international backlash, plus potential outrage of being forced to give back holy sites after capturing them. The West Bank. Israel was to gain almost total control of the West Bank by the evening of the 7th of June. It began its military occupation of the West Bank on that day, issuing a military order, the Proclamation Regarding Law and Administration of the West Bank 1967, which established the military government in the West Bank and granted the commander of the area full legislative, executive, and judicial power. Jordan had realized that it had no hope of defense as early as the morning of the 6th of June, just a day after the conflict had begun. At Nasser's request, Egypt's Abdul Munim Riyad sent a situation update at midday on the 6th of June. The situation on the West Bank is rapidly deteriorating. A concentrated attack has been launched on all axes. Together with heavy fire day and night, Jordanian, Syrian, and Iraqi air forces in position H3 have been virtually destroyed. Upon consultation with King Hussein I, I have been asked to convey to you the following choices. 1, a political decision to cease fighting to be imposed by a third party, the USA, the Soviet Union, or the Security Council. 2, to vacate the West Bank tonight. 3, to go on fighting for one more day, resulting in the isolation and destruction of the entire Jordanian army. King Hussein has asked me to refer this matter to you for immediate reply. What is the country of Jordan? What has Jordan been doing this whole time? Are they even a real country? Or what's happening? I'm not trying to shit on Jordanian people, but from you guys got your own independence post-mandate, and then you just seem like the most cucked country in the world. Why did you guys let Egypt have control over everything, and you seem like nothing is happening over there? You're just imagine one day you're getting a message from Nasser and he's like, bro, we just fucked up Israel's entire fucking air force. Check this shit out. Look at the radar scans. Those are our airships coming back. And then the next year, okay, well, listen, we've lost the entire fucking war, okay? In 2 days, okay? So what do you want us to do? Because now our shit is fucked and we're about to lose everything. What is Jordan as a country been doing for 20 years? Since 48? The Arab armies are notoriously ineffective because they're always afraid of military coups, so they don't train them well. Pretty sure Jordan is another minority-controlled country like when Saddam held Iraq. Okay, but didn't Iraq have a major military? I thought Iraq and Iran, they were on some serious military shit, weren't they? The Iraq-Iran war was insane. And even the first Gulf War, it was that was my understanding, but we're not at that point in history yet, so maybe something different happens, or maybe they look at how cucked all of these countries are around Israel. On one end, I want to say good for Israel for beating so many enemies at once, but also on another end, this is kind of oh god, I forgot his name. Who's the really good FPS player that plays casual games? I forgot. He's a streamer on Twitch. He's mega popular. Who am I thinking of? Shroud. Yeah, this is Shroud dropping into a Fortnite game with 6-year-olds. So I mean, like, to some extent, and this kind of happened in the 48 and the very first Israeli war as well, where there's like a bunch of people that I heard from some old Israeli official that the king didn't really want to join the war, but was afraid of popular uprising by Palestinians if they didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should read, like, I'm kind of curious about the history of Jordan and, like, what is happening in this country. An Egyptian order for Jordanian forces to withdraw across the Jordan River was issued at 10 a.m. on the 6th of June. However, that afternoon, King Hussein learned of the impending United Nations Security Council Resolution 233, which was what? Called on the governments concerned to take a measure for an immediate cessation of, activities in the Middle East? Or that said Near East, so that might have been... was already to, and decided instead to hold out in the hope that a ceasefire would be implemented soon. It was already too late, as the counter order caused confusion and in many cases was not possible to regain positions that had been previously left. On the 7th of June, I've got to leave pretty soon. I have to leave 30 minutes early today, so I got 2 minutes. Near East is the Middle East? Sure, yeah. On the 7th of June, Dayan ordered his troops not to enter the old city, but upon hearing... Why is this guy linking not safe for work? Ban him. Diane ordered his troops not entering the city, but upon hearing that the UN was about to declare a ceasefire, he changed his mind and without cabinet clearance decided to capture it. Oh, it was like, rip. Hold on. So where was he? I don't understand. After hearing about the impending UN ceasefire, he changed his mind and captured it. 2 paratroop battalions attacked Augusta Victoria Hill, high ground overlooking the old city from the east. 1 battalion attacked from Mount Scopus, and another attacked from the valley between it and the old city. What if he didn't know? Why perma? I'm pretty sure he left chat immediately. That's why my autocomplete didn't work. I think he left chat right after leaving out safe work, so he knew he wasn't supposed to. The paratroopers met little resistance. Fighting on the north, battalion, okay. 1 brigade. Jordanians 12th Armored Battalion, which outnumbered the Israelis, held off repeated attempts to capture Jenin. However, Israeli air attacks took their toll, and the Jordanian M48 Pattons, with their external field tanks, proved... External field tanks? Is there a reason for that? Is an American first-generation main battle. Jordan had weapons from, like, 4 different countries, too. They had, like, so much random shit. With their external field tanks proved vulnerable to short distances, even to the Israeli-modified Shermans. 12 Jordanian tanks were destroyed and only 6 remained operational. Just after dusk, Israeli reinforcements arrived. The Jordanians continued to fiercely resist, and the Israelis were unable to advance without artillery and air support. 1 Israeli jet attacked the Jordanian commander's tank, wounding him and killing his radio operator and intelligence officer. The surviving Jordanian forces withdrew. Jordanian infantry and their 3 remaining tanks managed to hold some people off. After the old city fell, the Jerusalem Brigade reinforced the paratroopers, continued to the south, capturing Judea and Gush Etzion. Hebron was taken without any resistance. Fearful that Israeli soldiers would exact retribution for the 1929 massacre of the city's Jewish community, Hebron's residents flew white sheets from their windows and rooftops. I didn't actually do the 29 massacre because I didn't do anything before, I think, 35. So I missed a couple of these. Okay. Yikes. I feel like I should just... Let me mark this here. Kind of meme. I'll quote this. Hazel Brigade proceeded eastward, descending to the Jordan River. Am I going to finish this section? Yeah, and then we'll do the Golan Heights. So finish up this tomorrow. On the 7th of June, Israeli forces seized Bethlehem, taking the city after a brief battle, left some 400 Jordanian soldiers dead, with the remainder fleeing. On the same day, one of Peled's brigades seized Nablus. Then it joined one of Central Command's armored brigades to fight the Jordanian forces, as the Jordanians held the advantage of superior equipment and were equal in numbers to the Israelis. Again, the air support of the IF proved paramount as it immobilized Jordanians, leading to their defeat. Blew up the Abdullah and Hussein bridges with captured Jordanian mortar shells. Jordanians, anticipating an Israeli offensive deep into Jordan, assembled the remnants of their army and Iraqi units in Jordan to protect the western approaches to Amman and the southern slopes of the Golan Heights. As Israel continued its offensive on the 7th of June, taking no account of the UN ceasefire resolution, the Egyptian Jordanian command ordered a full Jordanian withdrawal for the second time in order to avoid an annihilation of the Jordanian army. This was complete by nightfall on the 7th of June. After the old city was captured, Dayan told his troops to dig in to hold it. When an armored brigade commander entered the West Bank on his own initiative and stated that he could see Jericho, Dayan ordered him back. It was only after intelligence reports indicated that Hussein had withdrawn his forces across the Jordan River that Dayan ordered his troops to capture the West Bank. Jericho is a Palestinian city on the West Bank, is the administrative seat of the Jericho government. How far over is Jericho? Okay, way over here. Gotcha. According to Narcus, first, the Israeli government had no intention of capturing the West Bank. On the contrary, it was opposed to it. Second, there was not any provocation on the part of the IDF. Third, the rein was only loosened when a real threat to Jerusalem's security emerged. This is truly how things happened on June 5th, although it is difficult to believe the end result was something that no one had planned. I bet this is probably contested. I'm sure this is a point of Palestinian contention, that the plan was always to retake Jerusalem. Although, I mean, it's hard to argue against. Okay. Tomorrow will be the Golan Heights, and then the aftermath of the Six-Day War. We're basically done with this. Yeah, because these are all footnotes. We're pretty much done with this. And then after the Six-Day War, I could be wrong. I don't think there are any more major military conflicts with Israel, are there? I think now it's all like peace agreements and attempting, and then you've got like the Intifadas, the Yom Kippur War. I don't know how big this one was. The Fourth Arab-Israeli War was an ongoing conflict between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria. Oh, actually, I don't know how long this war lasted. I don't know fuck all about this one. Egypt's initial objective in the war was to seize a foothold on the eastern bank of the Suez Canal. Bro, how many times do you have to lose on like the same map? Like, what are you doing? Both the United States and the Soviet Union issued massive resupply efforts to their allies. Jesus. Amman, pronounced Amman. Okay. This is the war they're comparing to the most recent attack, yeah. This was the surprise war the Arabs declared on the Jewish high holiday in an effort to destroy the Jews. I wonder how this one turns out. Who wins this one? Jesus Christ. Will you do Jordan and Lebanon too? Their histories? We might do a little bit of Lebanon if we want to dig into Hezbollah, which is like the extremist group there funded by Iran. But we'll see. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow we'll do Golan Heights. And tomorrow we'll do the Golan Heights. We get into the aftermath of the Six-Day War. Hopefully we can do the Yom Kippur War. We need to, I need to stop doing other news in the beginning of stream. I just need to do like 10 or 11 hours of reading rather than like 5, because I'm only doing like 5 hours of reading on this. We could probably get through more stuff. The Israel-Lebanon war is important. Okay, well, we'll get there, I guess, but. All right, controversies relating to the Six-Day War. I don't know, do I want to read these? Do I care? Allegations of Egyptian atrocities against fellow Egyptians. Oh no. Allegations of killing prisoners. USS Liberty, okay. Quick Kokolinski tweet before you go. Oh, I don't care. Okay. I don't know if I care about anybody in media's opinion about this conflict right now. Okay. Oh, okay. Who's streaming right now on YouTube and on Kick? Canute is on Kick. Okay, I'll host him. And then, I don't want to host vegan games twice on YouTube, okay? Do a quick recap of where you're at for Israel and Palestine. Are you even more on Israel's side? Yes, I keep getting pushed more and more there, especially as I keep seeing offers where Israel's like, because like I feel like this is pretty shitty. Now, maybe when we do our Palestinian-sided research, maybe there's going to be things that make this not quite as. But like for instance, the fact that what is his name, Eshkol, like he literally contacted Jordan. He was like, guys, can we like not fight and then we won't do anything? And then Jordan was like, nah, actually we're gonna fuck your shit up. Like, and that's how they lost. That's how the entire West Bank was lost from Jordan. I mean, like, it's at some point it's hard to feel sorry for any of these people, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, Rage Pope thinks if I go back to 1882 instead of 1935 or whatever, that my whole opinion will change. So, you literally read that Jordan and Egypt signed a defense pact a week earlier. No, well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to. I mean. No, I don't have time. I don't have time. We can talk tomorrow about it, okay? Bye. I don't even have 2 seconds for this. Okay, I have to leave like immediately. I'm already late as fuck. Fuck, who can I host on YouTube? Lily Pichu. She's not even streaming. Oh, Night in the Woods. Oh, upcoming. Nope. Okay. Well, nobody. I'm scouting you guys to the wind. Raid Wolfheart FPS. They're not streaming either. Okay. I'm hosting on Kick to Canoe. I love you guys. We're gonna cappuccino. Be careful, guys. Bye. Wait, King Academics. King Academics. Is he streaming right now? Oh, he doesn't have, I think he